Hello everyone, my name's AJ and I'm your Students' Union President, and welcome back to the second night of Surrey Decides. So if you weren't able to catch yesterday's question time, it's all on YouTube, so do feel free to check it out and find out more about the candidates running, and the manifestos are also online. So tonight is an exciting debate where we'll have people from the activity zone running for positions, as well as union chair. So we were talking about things from societies, to clubs, to personal development, and of course, union bylaws. Do stay tuned today, and I'll be here in Pundit's Corner with other guests, and I look forward to a great Surrey Decides 2022.
Please welcome to the stage your chair for the Union Chair debate, Sam James.
Hey guys, how are we doing? Yeah. I'm not going to do a long intro because I feel like that's a bit just bigging myself up. So without further ado, I'll just introduce your candidates for Union Chair to the stage.
Please welcome to the stage your candidates for Union Chair.
Yeah, you got me on wheels. Right, fantastic. So without further ado, we'll start off with our introduction. So in 30 seconds, starting with you, Dave, could you please introduce yourself and explain why you are running for Union Chair this year?
Hi, hello everyone. I am Dave D, or some people know me, #VoteTheD. So first of all, thank you so much everyone for coming. Like, this is what being a student is all about. Being here, engaging with all the Students' Union services and things that the Students' Union do, supporting each other. And this is why my manifesto is really heavily focused on engagement, talking to people, engaging students in the University of Surrey Student Union processes. Sorry, that was a mouthful. And I also want to, basically, the reason I'm running for Union Chair is because I've been across I've been working as a cause rep, I've been on the zone before, and I've done loads of things around the university, being, for example, a mentor for the University of Surrey Council at the moment. So I thought I'd bring that experience to the table and, you know, make things happen. Thank you very much.
And Amel, same thing to you. Please could you introduce yourself and explain why you're running for Union Chair this year?
So hi, my name is Amel. I am a psychology student on my placement year with the university's Comms and PR department. You may have seen me running around campus with film crews, stocking up stationery in my Surrey Spark. So I do a lot for the university that you guys get to see in the end. Work closely with the student union this year, and it's been amazing this year, and I want to do more. So I'd like to actually be in the student union this year and get involved in giving the feedback of the students. I've got to do that a lot this year. So if you vote for me, maybe I'll be able to do that for you.
Right, we'll now head to some questions about your respective manifesto. So we'll go straight to you, Amel. So one point you raised in your manifesto is collaborating with other student unions to learn and innovate. Could you elaborate what your vision is for this area? What do you hope to learn from other student unions?
The only best way to learn forward is to collaborate. That's one of the things I've got to do in the university, not just in my own department. I've got to work with so many different departments throughout the year, and because of it, I've been able to get better. I've learned how to communicate better, as well as give feedback to our students about what we're doing. And I think it would be great if student unions work together. Not all student unions are great, and the only way to go forward is to talk to them. Sheffield is obviously the top-ranking student union this year, so why can't we? If we collaborate with other student unions, especially University of East Bristol, their sustainability project, they have done so much in terms of sustainability. It's obviously the second most voted thing on our motions this year for University of Surrey students. So if we can do that, then it would be great to move forward as a university.
Now, Dave, you dedicate a section of your manifesto to a proposal called Union Day, which you would like to hold at the start of the academic year. Considering you start in July, how realistic do you think it is to get this event together ready in time? How would you set it up?
So we get Freshers Week set up every year. I mean, not without problems, but obviously it takes a lot of effort. But considering I've also been on the community zone PTO, I've organised events such as the very first Oktoberfest and helped organise all the subsequent ones. I've got a lot of experience organising events, and that's why I think I don't see why we can't organise a big Union Day, probably around Freshers Week, because there's not a lot of daytime events during Freshers Week anyway. And so it'll be a nice way to fill a day for the freshers, for them to come to the union, experience what the union is all about, get to know all the officers, get to know in which ways they can get involved, how can they influence the union, start pushing Surrey Decides really right from the start of the year as well to students, so people can prepare, get involved. We barely had a contested president's election this year. Only through a lot of effort did we get a contested president's election this year. And, I want to change that through having that Union Day right at the start of the year and being able to push students to engage with the union.
Thank you. Now, both of you may be aware this year that we have a referendum running along the Surrey Decides elections. Some of you in the audience may also be aware. This referendum relates to every officer at the union getting a vote on motions, and we'll set up zone-themed meetings every month rather than exec board meetings. The aim is to engage students and broaden the number of voices. So, very simply, could you explain which way you are both planning to vote in the referendum? Starting with you, Amel.
I'm voting to go forward with this referendum. I think it's a great opportunity to actually let the zones say what they need to say. I mean, our PTOs do an amazing job throughout the year. They are current students. They know what's going on the ground. They're speaking to current students. I'm not saying the sabbatical team can do that. Obviously they can, but where they're either taking a year out or graduating, they don't know what's going on. So that's the best way, being able to work as a team and giving our PTOs the actual voice that they deserve.
And Dave, how are you voting?
I agree with many things that Amel said, and something I want to add as well is that exec obviously has not been working as intended this year, as a lot of us seen. I believe there's only one exec this year, one proper exec, and so if it's not working, we obviously need to change it somehow. And I'll be also voting for the referendum to basically encourage that change because obviously if exec is broken, we got to fix it, and I think that's the way forward.
So now I've been told to see if anyone from the floor has a question. Or are we still too cold? Oh, yeah.
AJ?
I don't know if we've got a... Is there a mic coming? I don't know.
Of you, what point from your obviously your competitor's manifesto would you see yourself implementing or developing on, and which one perhaps has the most synergy with your ideals as well?
Great question. Dave, first.
So in some ways, our manifestos have a few quite similar points. So Amel was talking about mini-fair, I'm talking about Union Day. Amel's talking about also a lot about engagement and working together with the university, and I also talk about this in my manifesto. So I think around those points, whichever candidate is going to win, we're both going to take ideas from each other. We had very friendly competitions throughout this whole thing as well. So I think no matter what's going to happen, we're going to probably end up even working together on a lot of these points because we both got great experience and we both want these things to see happen.
Amel?
I mean, Dave said it all. Our manifestos are very similar, not because we were doing it together, but it's very hard to do a union chair manifesto because obviously we are holding the sabbatical team credible and also being the student voice. And a lot of our things are, yes, very similar. Like how, obviously Dave has a union day. I have mini fairs throughout the year. But there's nothing wrong with collaborating those ideas together because at the end of the day, if it carries on pushing the student union to the best it can be and giving the student feedback, then that's what matters.
That was actually the perfect question because it perfectly leads me into my next one, which is you both mentioned the importance of communicating with students in your manifestos. Dave, you want to plan comms through cross-zone cooperation and work more closely with the university. Mel, you emphasise the idea of innovating union communications with students. So I was going to ask, what do you think of each other's approach to improving comms? And what do you think is unique to your approach? Dave?
All right, so innovating student comms, that's it, right? Yeah. So obviously, I think it's a great way to go about it. You know, if something we've struggled with engagement a lot this year, and you know, if something old doesn't work, I think we got to replace it with something new, and that's what basically innovating comms is about. Which in the way that my cross-zone collaboration is probably slightly different, is that it's actually bringing back something that we used to do, but we stopped doing. So we used to have weekly sabbatical officer meeting with comms to discuss the strategy for comms for the week ahead. I'm not sure as the sabbatical officers take more responsibility, I'm not sure weekly are still more realistic to do, but I want to definitely do at least once a month, have a strategic meeting with all the sabbatical officers and comms to plan the strategic media strategically ahead of the month.
Fantastic. Then Mel, what do you think is unique to your approach?
I mean, I've obviously got the benefit of working in the university's comms department. I know what's going on. I know how things are planned ahead. I know the student union's calendar is very completely to the university's calendar, but doesn't mean it overcrosses. It's always great for collaboration with that, and it is sometimes very hard. There's times that we don't always see eye to eye because other things think they're more important, but with the university moving forward, there's a huge change in terms of comms. We are really changing how we're communicating with students. And when I say about innovating communication, I don't mean just sending loads of emails. Emails don't work. I know that in the comms office, how many emails are actually open. It's trying different things. I mean, I'm persuading the university with trying to get on TikTok. So if I could do that with the student union, I think that'd be pretty cool. Even bringing back podcasts. Podcasts are coming back in season this year, and it would be great to actually do that. I know the union used to do podcasts with the sabbatical team, so there's no harm in trying things again and just revamping it. So yeah.
We're going to continue on this topic, so I hope you like communications. So I've got specific questions for both of you. So Mel, yours is there anything that you don't think is currently working when it comes to communication with the union?
I mean, I think a lot of students don't know what the student union is. I mean, when I've been campaigning for the past week, I'll talk about Surrey Decides. You've got a few people who really do know what Surrey Decides is. You have people who've been here for like 3 years and have no idea what Surrey Decides is. And then you ask them what union chair is, and they have absolutely no clue. They may know who the sabbatical team is, which obviously is really important because at least they are the face of the union. But clearly, not enough students know enough. If you go to Hazel Farm, a lot of students don't know what the union actually do for them. Go to Manor Park, it's only maybe now because they're revamping Heart and Soul into a student union bar. But again, there is no presence on the other campuses. So working harder to actually bring the campuses together as well as our commuting students would be a great opportunity for all.
And Dave, your specific question is, could you explain how your plans for communications would benefit students in their day-to-day lives at the university?
Well, the Students' Union benefits students in general, I think we can all agree, in their day-to-day lives. And I think by having more effective communications, students will know better how they can get involved with the Students' Union, how they can better represent their views in front of the Students' Union, how they can even, most people don't even know that Rubik's is part of the student. Like, I've talked to students that didn't know that Rubik's is part of the Students' Union. They do a lot. So what about services like Welfare Watch, Nightline, all these different amazing things that the union nearly got cancelled by that the union does for what's it called, for all the students, and so that's why like effective communications to the students is so important, so they know all the support that's available to them, all the activities they can get involved in, even stuff like Employable Me and all the other campaigns that we do, just to better themselves as well.
Now, I have to note, you seem to have been agreeing with each other a lot on this stage. So I'm going to ask, starting with Dave, and then Mel, what do you really think of each other as candidates? Come on.
I think Amel's a lovely person. Like we've known each other from before we started campaigning. I was actually encouraging Amel to run against me at one point because I think union chair is such an important democratic role that it needs to be contested. And we literally said, like, if we could, we took a bench to the office and sit there together. So yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that.
Yeah, and Amel, what do you really think of Dave as a candidate?
Dave is honestly great. Like, throughout this campaigning period, he's always been checking up on me. I mean, we all have our friendly competition. Like, he'll see me campaigning, he'll run over and take over and be like, no, campaign for me, vote for me. But no, Dave's been really great. I can't have a better competitor, being able to have that competitive banter, but as well as have that support as well to someone else to understand the stress and everything. So yeah, I'm glad I've got Dave as a competitor.
You're both way too nice for an election, I can tell you that.
I've got to cry.
Try to keep it in. Let's go for a quick fire question now, starting with you, Amel. What do you think is the union's best achievement in this current academic year?
I think, I mean, it's an ongoing project, but obviously I've got a bit more insight into that. The period poverty campaign led by the support zone, I think it's such an important thing for so many students, and being able to not just do it in Stag Hill, Hazel Farm and Manor Park, to provide those things, even if you forget, and also for those students who cannot afford those products, which is crazy because every person should have access to those things, especially. So I think that is one of the campaigns that I'm really proud of the Student Union for actually taking forward and pushing to make sure that we actually have that.
And Dave, what do you think is the union's best achievement this year?
I'm going to go for like the main campaign of the Students' Union this year, which is women's safety, just because it is the biggest campaign of the union this year. It's what's been voted for, and we've done so much for it. We had obviously the most engagement from like any union event so far this year was for the big meeting that we had about Girls' Night In. We are organising loads of things for No More Week in a couple of weeks. I think 1 or 2 weeks that is. So we've been doing so much. There's been personal alarms ordered. We've got more lighting around town, and it's a continuous campaign as well, where we keep on pushing for women's safety. Even about the increased amount of bouncers around Rubik's, the posters about spiking, and I think just because it's been such a focus, there's such a progress. I think people feel a lot safer going out in Rubik's, for example, than let's say, because I mean it's. Nobody feels safe in casino, but like, that's a point. Like, I think that's the achievement, that people actually feel safe going out in Rubik's for most of the time, and compared to, let's say, town.
We're going to dive into your manifestos again, one more time. So, Amel, part of your manifesto is about refreshing the pack given to new students when they arrive here at Surrey. What would you change about it? Is there anything you think is missing at the moment?
I've had a look at the introduction packs that freshers get, and it's a lot of words. And especially when you move into fresher, like, you know, when you're a fresher student and you move in, You don't really think about it. You're too busy excited to meet new people and engage with other people. And there's a lot of text. And then I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's a great, really detailed thing for, for a student to understand what the student union is, how it's broken down, all the people involved. But it needs to be digestible for students. So even if it was scanning a QR code, so then students can actually see that and engage with that, or having shorter text, just getting straight to the point. Because at the end of the day, with how society is, you can't spend time waffling. You need to get straight to the point. So having QR codes, making them more engaging, taking them to the support areas that needs to be, instead of just at the back of the page, you see the Domino's voucher and you go for that instead of actually looking what the student union is actually about. So, and also this is a thing, commuting students, they don't get to actually see these. These are only just for students who move into our accommodation. There's obviously students that move into the private accommodation as well, and it's excluding them. So at the beginning, they still have no idea who the student union is. So being able to include them and making them feel that they are a part of their student union experience is really important.
And Dave, you talk about there being a union bubble and want to set up student task groups to increase engagement. Firstly, what do you perceive as being the union bubble, and then how would these task groups be formed?
I think it's very easy. I think there's a certain number of students which are really active in the union, and it's kind of very easy to just then, what's the word for it, but then basically expand that whatever that group of people around you thinks is what everybody else thinks. And I mean, we see, like, even on social media, like, you oftentimes you just see your mates there, and then you all agree on each other, and you kind of end up being in a bit of an echo chamber. So I want to make a conscious effort in the union to kind of break out to those people who aren't as engaged. We've got loads of data from the pooled survey, for example, about which groups of students are disengaged. For example, people with dependents under 18, and kind of reach out to them, and specifically, because we have that data, and ask them, what can we do to engage you better? What is working for you? What isn't working? What can we do to support you? For those people who are dissatisfied and disengaged with the union specifically, and that might not be just in the immediate facility and like always in the offices and so on.
Thank you very much. And I now have time for just one more question. It's a nice meaty one. As union chair, you'll have to work closely with the union president. So, simple question, starting with Dave.
Oh.
Who are you backing for president and why? And could the debate change your mind?
All right, it's a lovely question. So I think both manifestos are great. I've talked to both Amir and Diana. They're both amazing candidates. I have known Diana for a lot longer. I've worked with her together, and I think because of that experience I was here, it will make the transition a lot smoother, and because the union chair looks very closely with president, so I am Team Diana at the moment. But of course, the debate is important. It's very important for Surrey Decides, so of course, I'll be able to change my mind still.
And Amel, who are you backing for president and why? Could the debate change your mind?
I mean, it is a very difficult decision. I've worked with both in some capacity, in some way, but the debate will really state what is my mind. I've even, with the other debates, I've been paying attention to them. I have not made a decision yet. Based on manifestos alone, I have to say I will be siding with Diana for this moment of time, but that's because I see our things more eye to eye at the moment. But again, the debate could change my mind.
Well, all that's left to say is thank you to both Dave and Amel.
Thank you.
It's been a great debate. I think everyone will agree that's been an absolutely fantastic discussion. And I hope you'll all join us after a short break for the activity zone.
We're just going to do a quick round of introductions so you know who everyone is. We'll start off with you, Theo. What are you? What do you do? Obviously, you're human. I didn't mean what are you, but what do you do?
No, hi everyone. So my name's Theo. I was union chair 2 years ago, and then I was VP Voice last year, and now I work in FAS at the university.
Yeah, and I'm James. I'm the current VP Activity for this year. I deal with clubs, societies and employability.
How are you guys finding question time so far? How are you feeling?
Yeah, really enjoying it. It's good to be back.
Yes, indeed. What about you?
Yeah, it's just nice for it to kind of be normal again. It's been
Yeah.
a while. I mean, 2020 is, 2 years ago now?
It feels like a long time.
Yeah, back in Rubik's, in-person campaigning, all the posters everywhere again. It's just nice to be back.
Yeah, agreed. So because you were previously union chair, I'm going to ask you, like, why do you think union chair is important? How did you find your own experience as union chair?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit biased, but I would say union chair, the most important
Yeah,
role.
of course.
Of course. So yes, I think it's a really interesting role. It's the only trustee that isn't full-time. And your job is mainly, so you chair exec, which is one of the biggest committees that have the SABs on, and then you're also in charge of holding the sabbatical team and, of course, the PTOs, but predominantly the sabbatical team, to account. And because as they are full-time paid members of staff, they, you need to make sure that they're doing their job, and ultimately that is the union chair's role. And the thing that I think really interesting about that is the structure in which you do that is kind of up to the union chair each year. There's not a set thing, and so each one's got their opportunity to kind of put their little spin on it.
What do you think was like the biggest challenge or the most interesting?
I think the two things. So I did redesign how the accountability stuff worked, because it had sort of it changed a little bit over the time I was there. So I really enjoyed doing that, and that was quite a big, one of the bigger tasks that I did. And then I also really enjoyed working with the president, being one of the trustees, and kind of being one of the people in the room when important decisions are made.
To make, yeah. How obviously we have our own union chair, which is currently Ade. Have you found team union chair relations?
I mean, Ade's great.
Yeah,
she brings a lot of energy to the team, and I think she's been a brilliant union chair so far. Wish I could see more of her. That's the only complaint I have. No, I think she's been brilliant this year. Every time she comes into the office, it's just always a bundle of fun, but she always gets so much done, and it's incredible. And she's keeping me on my toes. She's making sure that I am doing my job, and that's the important thing, because that is what the union chair is here to do.
Yeah, I think the team dynamic's also really important, because as much as the union chair is a part-time student in their study, and they're very much still part of the whole SAB team, because at the end of the day we're here to represent students, and because the union chair is also a trustee, it's really important that there's a good relationship between the vice president, the president and the union chair. So if you are running, do bear that in mind, that if you get elected, make sure you have a great relationship with your sabbatical team and union chair. Previously mentioned was the referendum coming forward.
Big question.
What are your thoughts?
Mr. Union Chair.
Yeah, I must admit I'm slightly out of the loop of it, as I perhaps was 2 years ago. But my understanding is that the kind of want to move away a bit from the kind of meetings every month that are quite set and rigid, into a more kind of loose state where they're kind of called as necessary, and then giving a bit more power to the zones. I think it's a good idea. We talked about it a little bit when I was VP, and it never really quite got off the ground, with COVID and stuff. But it's something that I think was, because exec, my 3 years ago when I first started, or 4 years ago now actually, exec was really busy and lots of people would come, but it wasn't always necessarily super positive environment. It did get quite combative sometimes, and I think moving, and then sort of issues sort of trailed away, and it become the zone's a bit more devolved. I think it wasn't really as needed as much, and so it kind of ended up becoming a bit. Maybe you'd have 1 or 2 execs a year that was really important, but there were probably quite a few that weren't as impactful.
Yeah,
and so, I think scaling that back and having it called when necessary and giving more power to the zone is a really positive thing.
What about you, James?
Yeah, I think now that we've kind of got this year of recovery because of COVID, I think now is a really good time to try and trial something new.
Yeah.
I think exec's been around for years and years and years, and it's clearly not working as well as it used to do back in the time. So I think giving something new a chance it's a good idea, because what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is that we go back to what it used to be.
Exactly, yeah.
The best thing that can happen is that it's brilliant, it gets loads of engagement, and loads of people get engaged with the union that currently didn't or previously didn't. Also, you can specialise the chats a bit better, I think. If we're kind of devolving exec into different zones, you can have more specialised chats about individual zones and stuff. So I think it's really positive.
Yeah. And the outcome of the referendum will inevitably affect the union structure for next year. So whereas previously the current union structure, Surrey, because it hasn't gone through yet, is there's currently 2 executive members in each zone. But if the change does go ahead, everyone will just be a regular member, but they'll be able to vote on decisions being made. And then, so their zone meetings stay and continue as usual. But then once a month or per semester, there can be an all officers team where they discuss things as they're topical and so forth. But it's just essentially to ensure that all the people in the zones do get a chance to have their voices heard and have a vote, which is why we're pushing for the referendum. And when we did propose it, it was a unanimous vote from the current exec to actually implement that structure. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it gets passed through. But we'll hear more about that tomorrow anyways in the president's debate tomorrow. So anything you would say in terms of good advice for being a union chair?
Oh, I mean, to be honest, one of you touched on it earlier. I think, having a good relationship with the SAB team, obviously the PTOs as well, making sure people know who you are, being visible, going to events, going to zone meetings, just kind of, because people talk about the central zone, with the president, union chair, but because in a way you are sort of floating, I think it is important that you try and, particularly now when as the pandemic's kind of coming to I don't want to say end exactly, but as things are getting more and more, things are happening more in person. You take that opportunity to be a spare pair of hands, turn up and get involved. And then that gives you that good rapport because it's much easier to have those slightly, if you do need to have a difficult conversation, because, if those kind of things do need to happen, it will be a combination of the union chair and the president usually. And it's much easier to have that conversation if you get on well with them and you know them, and might have a little bit of an understanding of the background of where that person comes from and like kind of issues they'll be dealing with, rather than going in all guns blazing and before you understand everything. So just really working on that rapport and then having a good understanding of the way the structures work and stuff. Read those bylaws. Got to have them tattooed somewhere on you. Every union chair needs that.
Put it on your forehead, guys.
Yeah.
AJ said so. I'm not joking. What about you, James? Obviously, you're from a different perspective because you're a SAB, but what would you say as a SAB you think is important for a union chair?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just getting stuck in, getting involved with what the SABs are doing. Like, I feel like it can often be misconstrued that the union chair has to be kind of separate from the VPs and the president because they need to hold them accountable, whereas I don't think that's actually the case at all.
Yeah.
If anything, if you're more incorporated into what the SABs are doing, you're going to have a better understanding of what they're doing, but also going to have, again, a better report, like Theo said. So I think that's probably the most important thing, just kind of getting stuck in. One thing that comes up and up again over working in the union is your job in a union is only as good as you make it.
Yeah.
If you put the energy in, it's going to be an amazing year for you. You're going to get involved, you're going to make friends for life, memories for life. So get stuck in.
Yeah. I actually really agree with what James said, because as much as you can think you're a union chair, you just do this, it's very much important to ensure that you have a relationship with the other SAB teams. Like, if you want to get involved in events that has to do with activity, no one's going to say you're union chair, it's forbidden. Like, you can do what you want to do. So I think definitely sustaining that relationship is very crucial.
Yeah, I completely agree. You've got that freedom to jump in wherever you want to, and the thing about that is that, of course, you're completely free to do whatever you like. You're not, and all the PTOs have that same element of it, you get as much out of it as you put in.
Yeah.
But union chair's got the freedom to sort of roam as well.
Agreed. What do you think was your favourite thing to roam?
Oh, that's good.
So
I loved Freshers Week. I really enjoyed that, and standing on the stand talking to new students and stuff. And kind of I really like the buzz of Freshers Week. It was really fun for me.
You're not union chair, but what's been your favourite thing about
being a SAB?
Just like getting stuck in.
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? It's going to be a really wet answer.
Was it?
But just helping people.
Oh my gosh.
I know, sorry. But there's something really nice about having students come up to you with a genuine problem. And it's for me especially, where it's club and societies, these club and societies are these people's passions, their lives, their day, like all their spare time is put into this thing. So then when they come up to you with a problem, like for them, it's a massive, massive issue. And being able to help them out and kind of give them hopefully a positive outcome, it's just really nice and fulfilling. It's part of the reason why you do a sabbatical role.
That's true. That is true. Because at the end of the day, it's students supporting students. So I think it's definitely something that's important. Speaking of bylaws, do you what's your favourite one? What do you remember?
I mean, there's one at the beginning. My bylaw knowledge is going to have dropped off a little bit over the years, but the two that always one that always gets brought up is the one about how Steve the Stag, our beloved mascot, has to be kind of seen in a positive light. He can't be being caught doing anything untoward or anything, which is quite amusing. And the way that's written is quite funny. But there's one quite near the beginning which basically says that in a scenario when something's not quite clear or there's not been something happened before, the union chair gets to make a decision and can kind of make a call on it, and that doesn't then set precedent. So I always found it quite amusing that you could maybe make a call like that, and then the next week something else could come up with the same thing, and you could do completely the opposite.
Yeah.
It might upset a few people, but I enjoyed the
power trip.
power, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what. So there's Marlon sitting over there saying, "I like to help people. I'm here for the power grab."
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. So what changes did you make as union chair? There's one particular thing I remember.
In
terms of remember Surrey Decides?
Yeah.
In terms of 3 candidates, 3 people being the observers.
Oh yes,
so
of
a lot
course,
of people
right.
don't
Yes,
actually know about that.
That was a change I did, wasn't it? So for those of you who don't know, sometimes the way the question time is run, or certain bits of Surrey Decides as a whole.
Yeah.
Maybe things don't go as nicely as you'd like them to, and the kind of the decision-making process on who, whether the ruling on that, and who makes it, and what the outcomes of those decisions are, wasn't super clear. So we came up with a structure with an independent panel of students to look after that.
So that's an example of a change a union chair has made, a previous one that still currently exists. So obviously if you are a union chair, you do have the power and the scope to do what you want, within reason, of course, because bylaws are there. But it's just a great chance to really just make a change, And one thing that's constantly come up has been accountability. How did you find your accountability panel and everything, accountability?
You know what? It's a really scary thing. I don't know how you feel as president as well, but because you're holding us accountable, but you're also accountable for what we do. So it's a bit of a back and forth. It's an interesting one. And again, I think where we have a good relationship with Ade, maybe it's a little bit less scary because she's not going to come down on us like a ton of bricks. But
lucky, mate, you didn't have me.
Yeah, I know.
Theo was, let's go.
Theo was good. Yeah, ready to go. But it's a scary thing going into accountability panels. But the key thing is that it has to keep us on our toes. If you don't have accountability panels, I'm not going to say that we're not going to do anything, but it makes sure that you are doing what you're meant to be doing. And it's a really key part of the union chair role. And without those accountability panels, I think they're a core part of the union and what the union is. So it's a really important job being a union chair, because without a union chair, you don't have accountability panels.
Exactly, that is true. And I think sometimes people tend to think accountability panels can be a bit scary, but it's also your chance to say what you've actually done and what you've achieved. And it's really important to also understand that, yes, we're holding you accountable to make sure you achieve your stuff, but once you have achieved it, accountability panel is a great chance for you to shine and say, I've done this, I've done that, and so forth. But that is all from us on this side. We're going to come back here later and have more conversations.
Please welcome to the stage your chair for the Activity Zone debate, Sophie Aldous.
Tell me that you need me. Tell me that you want me. Tell me that you need me. Tell me that you want me. Tell me that you need me.
Hi guys, I'm Sophie. I'm a part-time officer for the Voice Zone at the moment, so it's really lovely to be involved in Surrey Decides. So we're going to be hearing from our activity part-time officer candidates next. So unfortunately we only have one of them with us today. We are really sorry to say that 2 of our candidates were unable to appear in person or online. So we just have Izzy here with us today. So we're just going to have a chat with her. You can find out a little bit more about Phoebe and Hannah's manifestos on the website, and you'll find them on the ballot as well. So Izzy, let's start out by finding who you are and why you're running for the Voice Zone. For the
Please
activity
welcome to the
zone.
stage your candidate for the Activity Zone.
People, put your hands up in the air, I know you like it. Don't you fight it, I can see you're high and all excited. Flying through the night, we going up, better hold tight. Go, 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 go. Now we got to start.
So sorry, I did slip my words a little bit there. You are an activity PTO, and we are going to try and make this as much of a conversation as we can, because it is quite daunting being by yourself on the stage. So I understand where you're coming from. So I'd love to hear a little bit from you about why you kind of want to join the activity zone.
So I'm Izzy. I'm a third-year vet student. Some of you might know me as the president of Baking Society and as Dodgeball's RAG coordinator. Basically, over my first 3 years here, I've seen the amazing stuff that the Activity Zone have done around here, and I just want to get more involved and get as many people involved as possible.
That's Fantastic, thank you. So I'm going to start off with kind of a question about your manifesto, if that's okay. So I'd kind of love for you to tell me a little bit more about your plan for inclusion training for societies and clubs, and would you kind of want to make this mandatory? How would you run it with the societies?
So basically, like, my thinking was there is, like, historically, the wellbeing champions were wellbeing and inclusion. I'm aware that the and inclusion part of the name was dropped because it is a mouthful. But I did attend the wellbeing training this year on behalf of baking, and inclusion was touched on but not mentioned massively. So I'd like to either increase the training given to our current wellbeing champions, or to create an entirely new role given a similar kind of level of status as the wellbeing champion, and like with the recommendation of every society has one. That was my thinking with that.
So just kind of trying to increase the amount of inclusion that is in the wellbeing training.
Yeah.
Right, I see. And so how would societies be provided their tailored feedback that you mentioned on your manifesto? For example, would it kind of be a sit-down session with yourself, or perhaps like a report?
Yeah, so my thought was to kind of send out a survey, kind of either similar to or even possibly as part of the Pulse survey, to kind of just ask like people, what societies are you engaging with? And like, you know, what do you kind of give out a certain set of questions like, you know, what do you like? What don't you like that goes on in the society? Do you think you get value for money out of your membership? Kind of questions like that. And then that would kind of be fed back to the committees to kind of give them an idea as to what is working, what isn't working. And like, as someone who does struggle with confidence a lot, while I'd hope that obviously any committee would, you know, be very open to verbal feedback from any member, like as someone who does struggle with the confidence, it just kind of provides a formal opportunity to have your voice heard if you're not quite so confident in speaking up.
So just kind of leading on from that question then, what do you think societies and clubs can kind of learn from this information? What would you expect them to do moving forward?
So just kind of like, I don't know, for example, it might come out that people are like, sorry, choking a bit. You know, like, oh, I really don't like it when we do this sort of social. Could we have more of this other kind of event? Or like, yeah, I really enjoyed it when we collaborated with this society. Could we do that again? Just, you know, small things like that, really.
Okey-dokey. Feel free to take a water break as well if you want. Okay, so a little bit more of a general point. Do you think any of your manifesto points would kind of benefit from you collaborating with any of the other zones, or any members within the own zone that you think you could overlap with?
I think certainly like the point on inclusion training would probably overlap quite well with probably both like support and community zones. I think, yeah, their input would definitely be very welcome with those things.
And kind of being quite harsh with yourself, which part of your manifesto do you think might be the hardest to achieve? And if you think it might be a little bit hard, is there anywhere that you think, any people that you think might be able to help you with that?
I think probably the hardest one would probably be the feedback for the clubs and societies, just because that is quite a large scale type thing. I think it would certainly require like a few different people's input to make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you also mentioned about kind of keeping the Surrey Society's Instagram account alive and kind of revamping it a little bit. So how would you ensure that the regular posting on the account happens? In the past, this has been promised, but it hasn't really been implemented. So do you have any specific plans or anything?
I actually think that the kind of taking on a similar format to what the current RAG coordinator has done with the RAG Instagram, so kind of getting clubs and societies to just, with the little template, submit, you know, we've done this awesome thing, you know, we've, if where applicable, we've achieved this, and a nice little photo to go with it, and just kind of, yeah, at least every couple of weeks be posting on there, because I checked on the Surrey Society's Instagram earlier today, and that hasn't been posted on for a little while at this point. I think it was Blue Monday was possibly the last time they posted. And also to possibly even utilise other social medias, because not everyone does use Instagram. So they are missing out on, a number of students by only utilising Instagram.
So I do want to touch base just for a second and say you are doing amazingly. It can be a bit awkward, obviously, when there's only one person, but you are doing fantastically. Your answers are superb. So I do just want to go to one final question from me before I open it up to the audience and ask what kind of qualities you want to see in your VP activity for the next year. Could be anything.
Just a really proactive and enthusiastic person, really, willing to just get involved and, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then, yeah, just a quick question to the audience. Does anyone have any questions for Izzy? Seems like you covered everything. So, yeah, thank you so much for your answers to your questions tonight. They have been amazing. You've done so well. And yeah, just another round of applause for Izzy.
Please welcome your chair for the Surrey Society's chair debate, Akshaya Mohan.
Hi guys. Well, that quieted down so fast. Okay, so it's the third debate of the night. How's everyone doing? Amazing. So without any further delay, please put your hands together to welcome our candidate for Surrey Society's chair onto the stage.
Please welcome to the stage your candidate for Surrey Society's chair.
How you doing, Amy?
Okay. Yeah.
That was a good welcome. Let's head straight to the questions. In 30 seconds, introduce yourself and tell us why you're running.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name's Ami. I'm a biomedical engineering student currently on placement. This is my 4th year at Surrey. I've been involved in pretty much loads of things. So I think that's pretty why I think Society's chair would be a good role for me. So just to name a few, I am currently in the support zone. I have been a signatory for MEXUG for the past 3 years, got shortlisted for Signatory of the Year 2 years in a row. I have been part of all of the support services. I'm really active with a couple of clubs on campus, including archery, where I've also been on committee, snow sports, and this year I got involved a lot with dodgeball. So I think having such a vast and diverse experience would really help me help all of the societies of Surrey, so that's why I'm running.
Amazing. That was 30 seconds on the dot. That was amazing. So we'll head straight into some manifesto questions. The first one, which is the first point on your manifesto. You say you want to bring back Society and Member of the Month. Two-part question. How will you encourage societies to nominate themselves for this? And how do you ensure that it doesn't wean off towards the end of the year or doesn't lose popularity?
Sure. I know this is something that Ellen and Diana did 2 years ago. I actually ran against Ellen that year and I thought it was an incredible idea. I don't think getting societies to get involved will be a problem because all of them are doing amazing things. And I know both from experience and from talking to others that they sometimes feel like they could be more recognised, not just at the end of the year when you have Union Ball, but throughout the year. And I really, really think that committees are very keen to tell people what they're working on and to get their achievements out there outside of their little bubble of their societies. So in terms of that, I really don't think getting them involved will be a problem. And in terms of dying out towards the end of the year, again, I don't think that's a problem because we have so many societies and we also have AGMs and EGMs throughout the year, so new societies are coming along. So I really don't think that's going to be the case.
Fair enough. All right. Thank you for that. Okay, second question. You say you want to make the union awards more attainable. Two questions towards this as well. Question number one, at the end of the day, there's going to be one winner, right? And right now, the union doesn't seem to have any issue in picking out that winner from a pool of nominees. So why do you want to make the award more attainable?
I don't think the issue is picking the winner. I think the issue is sometimes as a committee member or as a committee as a whole, it feels quite intimidating to apply for such a big award. I know in MEXUG we sometimes questioned, oh, should we go for this? Did we do enough? Are we good enough for this? And I think that sometimes, especially in smaller societies, it scares them from trying to even fill the form. So I'm not saying it's hard for the union to choose. That's definitely not the case. I would just like to see more applications and to see people really confident that they can achieve that. That's part of the reason why I want to promote examples of what previous winners have done. Yeah, just again, from own experience, I know we've sometimes questioned it, and I don't think that should be the case. And I think every society as a Surrey should feel confident enough to apply for any award.
Amazing. Just to check, though, so if you're making things awards more attainable, that presumably that's about you lowering the threshold of the award?
No, I think the standards should still be kept really high, but that's... By attainable, I also mean promoting what the awards actually stand for. Again, I think sometimes, especially for smaller or newer societies, or societies that haven't really had a history of, oh, we've been shortlisted every year, we've been doing this, like we know how this works. Just a title and a brief description is sometimes not enough. So I think if I get elected and I actually spend time into promoting what each award actually entitles and what you should be doing for it, what other have been doing for it, that's going to make people more confident in applying. The thresholds should definitely not be lowered. If anything, it might actually be harder to choose if more societies are applying for them, because there's going to be even more great things to choose from.
Amazing, thank you. Further down in your manifesto, you say you want to keep up to date with what societies do. Every year there are about 130 to 150 societies. Part-time officer, how do you plan to accomplish this?
Yeah, sure. Most of these societies have quite a presence on social media, so by keeping up with what they're doing, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be at their every session, even though I know that trying out session is something that, again, Diana and Ellen wanted to do 2 years ago, and I think it's a really cool idea to try and do that. Hopefully I can work on that with whoever gets elected for Team Surrey Chair. But yeah, I have been involved in a lot of things. I am currently on placement. Time management is probably one of my biggest skills. So I really don't see it as a challenge in terms of trying to see what everyone is doing. I've briefly mentioned this on my Instagram. I'm currently in charge of 4 different Instagram accounts. So that's pretty much a lot of action going on there. So by making sure that all of the societies know who I am, and this kind of ties into my 4th point of establishing the role, I'm hoping that that would get them talking to me and pretty much bragging to me about how excited they are about what they're doing. So that should, again, make it easier to keep up with what they're doing. If they know who I am and they know that I'm there to support them, they will want to talk to me about what they're doing.
Amazing. And something you said in your answer led right into my 4th question, which is you want to try different society sessions. How do you think this is going to help the role of society chair?
I think we have such a broad range of societies in Surrey, and as much as some of them sound really cool, for some of them I probably have no idea what their session actually entail. For others, it would probably be really cool to try them, but again, I think that's pretty much one of the key things that a society's chair should do. You should know what your societies are doing. With sports is a bit easier because everyone knows what a certain sport looks like, but with societies, they do so many different things. You're not going to be able to help them grow and be better if you don't know what they're about.
Fair enough. Off the manifesto questions, on to some general questions. I've seen from your manifesto that you're involved on the committee of at least one society, a few clubs. That's a great lot of things you're involved in. If you become society's chair, how will you deal with any conflicts of interest that arise because of your association with these societies?
I was actually expecting this. I know this has been asked in the past as well, and I'm going to have a very similar question. I think I can be very unbiased, and if anything, because MECSOC has been such a big part of my university journey, I will probably hold them even more accountable because I know what we've been able to do in my 3 years of doing that. So if anything, the bias would not be in the sense of helping them have it easy, but I would challenge them and I would make sure that what they promise is actually delivered. So I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Amazing. From everything you've spoken, you seem to be a champion of smaller societies. So then what do you think is the biggest problem for these societies in attracting membership?
Okay. Obviously, I want all societies in Surrey to do well, regardless if they're small or big. But yeah, I think with bigger societies, they have a reach just because people are already interested in those things. One thing that I really enjoyed 2 years ago was the Society Showcase, which is pretty much the equivalent of Active Freshers, which probably most of you have heard about. Active Freshers is where all of the sports club get to have students come out and try their sessions. That's not really the case when it comes to societies, in the sense that you don't really get everyone in the market or everyone in the sports park, come here, have a go, see what we're about. That was done 2 years ago, and I think it went really, really well. It was so fun to see everyone together. So if we could bring that back, I think that would be a great way of helping smaller societies show the large student population what they're about.
Amazing. I think you've dealt with the questions very well. So we do need to head on to a gamifying part of things. Presenting Keep It or Change It. There was supposed to be some music and a logo. There's the logo. Yay!
Can I move more that way because I can't actually see it?
Sorry?
I can't see the whole screen.
You can't see the logo. It's just a logo, don't worry.
Okay.
A logo that Hannah's put a lot of effort into, so a big round of applause for Hannah. As the name suggests, the rule of the game is simple. I'm going to list some things, some practices that are there in the union. You're just going to use this amazingly made paddle with glitters. Again, shout out to Hannah and Gemma on that.
Thank you.
Amazing paddles. So you're just going to have to use this. There will be a 30-second timer. You're going to use the paddle and say keep it or change it, and we're going to try to get through as many as we can in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay? Are we good to start?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, sure.
I'm hoping a timer comes up somewhere. With 3, 2, 1, here we go. First one, societies and varsity. Keep it. Refreshers fair. Keep it. How we run AGMs. Change it. Interesting. Society's handbook. Keep it. Society standing. Keep it. Well-being champions. Change it. Signatory training. Change it. RAG. Keep it. Development meetings. Keep it. And last one, departmental societies.
Absolutely.
Keep it. Amazing. So then just a few questions based on your answers then.
Sure.
So the first one is how we run AGMs. You said you'd like to change it.
Yeah.
What would you like to change about it?
I think letting clubs and societies having the autonomy to do it themselves is great, but I also think having a union officer there kind of keeps them a little bit more engaged with the union. So I think personally I would like to keep the officers still being in charge of running them. Everything else is absolutely fine and it's working really well. Obviously, this is now being trialled and we'll see how well it works when some clubs and societies are doing it themselves. But I just think it's nice to have that outside of your club and society representation there that's kind of keeping everything really, really unbiased and super democratic.
Amazing. Okay, on to society standing. You say keep it. But society standing does have some issues with attendance. How do you intend to change that, or how do you intend to improve that?
Yeah, so I will be honest, I kind of kept everything pretty much, but I will want to improve most of the things that I did say keep. Obviously, society standings is a big part of my manifesto, and as someone that's been going to them for this is my 4th year going into them now, they can get quite repetitive and it can get quite boring, and I think sometimes SIGs feel like it's more of a chore than something they look forward to. So I do think we should keep them, but we should make them more interesting. That's one of the reasons why the skills workshop and the networking sessions will probably make an appearance if I get elected. I think this is a really good opportunity for the people that are at the head of the society to interact with each other. 2 years ago, am I allowed to say society's names? They don't exist anymore.
Go for it.
Yeah. 2 years ago, Cocktail Society had a president's hangout, and it was really, really nice to get most of the presidents in the same room and interact with each other. And I don't see why that shouldn't happen in the society standings. I do think sometimes updates to the societies come out quite late. That's why my point of type and send what can be sent, I think it's really important to update everyone as soon as you know things. Society standings should be a reminder rather than a first time you're hearing about something. So, yeah.
So I'll take your answer as change it at this point.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-being champions, you say you want to change that as well. What would you want to change about it?
I think this was mentioned a little bit in previous debates as well. I think it's a really good role. I actually am a wellbeing champion for 3 different things, but I don't think it gets utilised enough. So I know there are other people running that are looking into not necessarily improving, actually no, they are looking into improving the role in the sense of making people more aware of it, making people want to interact with it. So yeah, I think that's what needs to be changed. The role is incredible as it is and does a lot. Obviously, as someone being in the support zone at the moment, I have no way of saying that it's not an important role. It's just a shame that it doesn't have, at the moment, it doesn't reach its full potential.
Amazing. And another follow-up question, the last one. I can imagine a scream from a particular table. You say you want to keep RAG. So how would you encourage societies to integrate with RAG better?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, RAG has always been, at least in the last 4 years that I've been here, part of the Stars Award and now the badges. So I do think most societies that do try and attain it get involved with RAG because you do have to raise a certain amount of money. But I think sometimes, at least the amount that it is set now, can be quite intimidating. So I would absolutely love to work with the RAG chair in showing societies what they can do to raise money and pretty much show them that it can be fundraising money. I have been working with Dan a lot this year on Movember, and it was really nice to see more societies getting involved. Historically, it's always been clubs, so I don't see why we shouldn't take that forward and outside of just Movember, and making sure that everyone gives it a go.
Amazing. Amy, you've dealt with most of the, you've dealt with all of this perfectly, but just not done yet. We're going to open the floor up now to any audience questions. So does anyone have any questions for Amy? Yes.
So, this pandemic, quite a lot of societies are struggling with getting committee members because they reduced the rules that required to have like a full committee involved. So I was wondering, how would you tackle this problem? And how would you assist societies in building a full committee back up again in the next couple of years?
I will be honest, I only heard half of the question. I'm so sorry.
I can repeat that for you. I think so. What he brought up is that post-pandemic, there's been a lot of societies are finding it difficult to find committee members. And also there's now been a reduced threshold for that, which is that you do not need all 3 committee members to be elected in an AGM. So then how will you then encourage committees to get full, societies to get full committees? How will you help them with that?
Okay, sure. That ties very well with the establish the role point in my manifesto. I want to really build a relation with all of the societies at Surrey, and I want to make sure that I support them throughout the year. I think, as Akshaya mentioned, the threshold has been reduced now. We've also allowed, at least last year, previous SIGs were allowed to stay on until this academic year when an EGM was run and societies were brought back to life, essentially. But I think just by really being the link between societies and VP, and again, making sure that they know who I am, that I can help them, I think my experience being involved in so many different things, there is no way we're not going to find a way to make it work. So, yeah.
Amazing. And just a note that actually, apparently, the threshold has been lowered only for last year. For AGMs this year, the threshold's back up, and now we need all 3 committee members. So that's just a note for the audience members. Last question. You know what's coming. Who's getting your vote for VP activity, and can the debate change your mind?
The debate can 100% change my mind. I really don't know if I want to answer this with a specific name, because I have had the chance to work with Katie the whole year, but I've also met all of the other 3 candidates. Each of them has thing in their manifesto that links in with what I want to do. I think, in a very selfish way, being the only one on stage at the moment, there is a chance that I will get to work with any of them, and I don't want to upset anyone in that sense. But I think, based on my past experience of working with her, and also based on their manifesto, for me at the moment it's between Cam and Katie, but the debate can always change it, and I would be happy to work with either 4 of them.
Amazing. Is that it? That's it, Amy. We are done grilling you for tonight. Everyone, give Amy another huge round of applause for doing this.
Thank you.
And we'll see you after the break for Team Surrey Chair Debate.
To Pundit's Corner. So that was a great debate. Society's chair. Have you guys been in any societies?
Yeah, I was in Video Game Society for a long time because I'm a bit of a nerd. So really,
Shock.
Really, yeah, I know. I really, getting roasted at. I really enjoyed, playing video games against other unis and stuff. So that was really fun. And then I was also, being a politics student, I was in Politics Society as well. So,
what about you?
I was in a few. Dodgeball was my main one. I was also in Stag TV, kind of a little bit. I helped them out with a few things. Business Society as well. Was the other one I was kind of involved with a lot, especially my final year where I was working for the business school. So they are kind of the main 3 I took part in. Yeah.
What was your favourite thing about getting involved in those societies? We'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, dodgeball for me is probably the biggest part of my university experience. I mean, I came into uni thinking, dodgeball, that'd be a bit of fun. I used to play it in school.
Yeah.
And then it's like my low-key my entire life. So.
Did you join in first year?
Yeah, I joined in my first year. I joined for the bar calls, actually, but now I play more of the competitive side of it. So actually, it's completely, being a part of society has completely changed the scope of my life and like what I was kind of interested in, my passions and stuff. So yeah, it's quite an influential thing. Yeah, Theo.
Yeah, so for Politics Society, obviously, a lot of them were my course mates, but from different years as well. So it's nice to kind of, in my time, Politics Society had a really good relationship with the department as well. So it was kind of, we had some good stuff with the staff, general elections, having the hustings and things, and staying up, watching the. I'm sure a lot of people find that really boring, but as politics students, well, like this is great.
This is great.
So that was really fun. And then, as I said, with video games, would be competing against other unis, and I got in touch with, because obviously it's all digital, so I didn't meet anyone in person. But there's guys I still play with who went to Sussex and so on, and other unis, a couple from like Oxford Brookes and Bristol and stuff like that. So yeah, and I still talk to those guys now.
Yeah. I think the thing I love most about societies is that you get to meet so many people, and it's just a great chance to make friends. So for me personally, my only society experience was ACS, which is the African and Caribbean Society. So I joined ACS in my first year, and then in second year I became president. That's definitely been like one of my favourite things in uni, because I 100% know if I was not ACS president, I wouldn't have gone for the Voice Zone, I wouldn't have been VP Voice, and I wouldn't have been president.
You wouldn't be sat here.
I wouldn't be sat here. You guys would be missing out.
I forgot about something else, because I wrote for Insight as well. So one of the student publications, which, because the reason you mentioned, like kind of ACS being your path into
that was definitely
kind of
my
what happened with me as well. So I was doing student journalism, which then I started going to exec, and then I met the union chair at the time, Liv, and then she kind of groomed me into replacing it.
Yeah, I think society chair has such an important role though in engaging with different societies, running their training, because you're like the main point of contact.
Well, they should be the main point of contact, and especially when it comes to standings as well. Like standings are really your true position, point of contact for societies to find out what the union's actually doing, how they can get involved with it, but then also like how they can then collaborate with other societies. Because especially when it was in person, okay, obviously COVID's changed things up a little bit, but when it was in person, like you can talk to other presidents and other signatories whilst you're standing.
It helps. It helps a lot actually, because when I was president of ACS, that let me get to know the president of Arab Stock, which then let me get to know the other presidential people, and it definitely helped when campaigning, because when you're president, you occupy your space within a certain community, and let's be real, Surrey Decides and campaigning is all about getting involved in different communities, telling them what you're about, what you're running for, so hopefully they can also like vote for you and things like that.
Yeah, and one of my favourite changes I kind of brought in this year's VP activity was making society, the very first society standing, which was actually, I think it's called Society Showcase, it was so long ago now. We made it SIGs only, or one representative of each society only, which meant that when everyone sat in the marquee on benches where you could fit roughly 6 people per bench, you had like 6 different representatives from
different
societies. So you get like a Malu sock with a craft sock, with a pole fitness, with a surf, with a dodgeball, with a mad sock, and it's a complete mishmash of societies that maybe wouldn't ever talk to each other, but because you're there in person, kind of forced together in a way.
You must talk to each other.
Yeah, literally. And obviously, like you get a free pizza to kind of like calm the nerves a bit, but yeah, it really promotes collaboration, and it's something I'm really, really proud of bringing in. I hope it carries on in future years. Look at you, future VP activities.
Completely agree. So what do you think is the most important quality or thing a society chair should possess?
It's a good question. I think organisation, actually. I think it's a really key trait. I mean, there's a lot of societies. There's 125 societies, but the key thing, facts, it's a really tough job because, like Amy was saying in her debate a second ago, so there's 125 societies, but they all do completely different things. And unless you know roughly what each society does, when they do it, and kind of how they want to kind of progress in their futures, it's quite a hard thing. It's quite a hard thing to wrap your head around. Like, 125 different kind of groups of ideas you have to look after. And then when you're trying to look after all of them, I mean, it's a tough job. So having that organisation is a really key job in making sure you're on top of all your tasks.
It's interesting you mentioned that, actually, because, you know, on the previous discussion we were having, we were talking about how some of the part-time officers, like, you know, union chair, have got, you know, an element of being able to roam around and kind of get out what they put into it, but both the Society's chair and Team Surrey chair both got like a specific responsibility that they've got to do, and if they don't do it, then, you know, bad things happen, right? So, you know, so you completely agree with you. You've got to be organised, because if that thing's not done,
well, you've got 125 societies coming at you like, oh, when's society standing, or when's this next event, or what's happening in the union? It's like, well, okay, we've got 125 emails coming in. Like, hold up.
You love the emails, well.
Oh, it's a busy job.
That's his favourite thing is emails.
I love answering them, but there's just so many of them.
Yeah, understood. You said, because obviously we spoke about societies, what would you say was the top 5 societies in terms of membership?
Oh, put me on the spot. So, first is Anime Manga. They're on roughly 400.
That is a lot.
Second is VetSoc. They always do quite well. But yeah, the fact that Anime Manga are now skyrocketed up to the top, it's a clear change from before COVID, I believe. So VetSoc, I think Psychology are up there. I've got a whole list on my phone next to me.
Are we letting him check his notes?
We'll let it slide just this one time.
So, we have currently got Anime Manga in first, VetSoc, the Video Game Society.
Woo. Go team.
There you go. Psychology Society, the Economics and Finance Society are in 5th. The LGBT Society are on 202 members and they're in 6th. GameSoc, so board games. Different from video games. See, again, and that's a key part of the job.
The nerd's jumping out of me here.
It's knowing the difference between the slightly kind of similar societies.
Yeah, but different.
And then you've got postgrads in, I believe, 8th.
Yeah.
And then Law Society 9th and KISS in 10th. So it's a bit of a mishmash and completely different from maybe what it was before COVID. But in that group of societies mentioned there, I think it's roughly 1.5, maybe 2,000 memberships in there.
Yeah.
So it's big, it's a big job. And obviously, you're looking after 125 societies. I've said that a few times, but...
Just reiterating.
But you're also looking after all the members that are inside those societies, because, for example, if you don't give Anime Manga Society a kind of rundown what uni events are going on and stuff, that's 400 students that you could be telling about different activities that are going on and what fundraising are doing, and that's potential money that you're like losing for charity, and it's like a downward spiral. So it's making sure that you're on top of your game and making sure that you're engaging with societies as much as you can.
And I think I really like the diversity of the societies in terms of they cover so many different cultures as well. So there might be ACS, there's Sons, there's Abacus, like there's so many different cultural societies, and they all celebrate different things and do different activities. And I think it's really good for students within those communities to also be around people that they can relate to, because I definitely feel like a sense of belonging is very important. And if you are involved in a society, that's just a great chance to make new friends and people that kind of understand you in certain aspects.
Yeah, and I feel like you see that a lot, especially in One World Gala.
Yeah.
So One World Gala for me is one of the best events of the year because you see all those cultures, and I come from Southampton, and like you don't really experience that much culture there. Like,
None. It's nothing.
But
Well, we're both Southampton fans, so it's bad for both of us.
Yeah, I know. So then coming to Surrey, like I remember going to my very first dodgeball session. It's people from literally all around the world. You're learning different things every other day. I remember my third year, my replacement year, a member of the Bulgarian Society came up and gave me a bracelet which wishes you luck, and you have to put it on the first sign of spring, I believe. It's really testing my memory. But it's just learning different little bits of culture, and it's really interesting, and it's really like it's a nice bit about being a university student, I believe.
Yeah. Society's chair debate was great, very informative. If you aren't part of a society, do feel free to join a society, because as we mentioned, it's a great chance to meet new people and make new friends. And that's all from us on this side.
Please welcome to the stage your chair for the Team Surrey chair debate, Chloe Hinchcliffe.
Coming back for you one day.
I'm not gonna lie, it's not my first pint, okay? Don't judge me. 1 second, I'm just gonna sort myself out. All right then, are we excited? Yes, that's what I want to hear. Alrighty then, shall we have our candidates, please?
Please welcome to the stage your candidates for Team Surrey chair.
Alrighty then. Welcome both. Okay, so we're going to start with the golden oldie. Can you please introduce yourselves and tell us why you are running? You have 30 seconds. Let's start with Jade.
Hey guys,
Hello. Can we not have the countdown timer, please? Thank you. That's for later. Please continue.
Okay. So, hey guys, I'm Jade. I'm first year international student at event management department at Surrey, and I'm a Taiwanese badminton player. Though I've been at uni for only 2 years, but previously I've started and leading Model United Nations when I was in high school. Though it was quite difficult, eventually we had not only unforgettable experiences, but also won more than 20 outstanding delegate awards throughout the whole year. And I believe it is important for Team Surrey to have a fresh voice with different professions in different fields. And great leadership with new strategies can bring new insights towards the sports field. I'm running for Team Surrey chair because everyone is welcome in Team Surrey. So why not go for it? I intend to encourage everyone to participate and boost more competitive culture in Team Surrey.
And Nick, please.
Hi guys, my name's Nick. I am a 4th year economics and maths student here at Surrey. I'm the current president of powerlifting and weightlifting, having held both VP and social sec roles in the past. I want to be your Team Surrey chair because I'm passionate that being a part of a sports club can enhance your uni experience. I felt this in my own experience with my club, and I want to give it back to you. And that's why I want to be your Team Surrey chair.
Thank you very much. All right then, let's start with some manifesto questions. So Jade, your manifesto says you want to bring more sports with portable equipment to campus. So what are the practicalities of this? For instance, who is responsible for the equipment and where will these events be held?
Yeah, I think for instance, we have to plan the budget for it and definitely pay for someone who's managing the equipment and organize the whole thing. So basically, we have to plan the rent and return policy for the portable equipments, for example, dodgeballs, and for example, badminton nets for people to get more engaged in campus, and definitely fixing procedure for the equipments that we are using for the sports in campus. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Nick. So your manifesto says you want to encourage more funding for our top athletes. So who would you consider to be our top athletes? And do you think that this contradicts with inclusive sport?
No, I don't believe it contradicts at all. It depends on the sport. There's a level that everyone has to play to be involved, but the elite side can be from national, it could be county. I think that's for individual clubs to decide. I think if I was elected, I'd like to work with clubs to highlight members that are considered elite. Participation is obviously a huge part of sport here at uni, but I don't think it contradicts because we have amazing programs like Play Sport. Within my own club, we run beginner sessions. I don't think they contradict at all.
Thank you. So just a quick follow-up. So we have E&R Elite Sports Scholarship. So how would your proposition be different to this?
At the moment, the E&R scholarship only has 19 people within it. It's not publicised very well, not marketed very well. Mostly, I would look to try and market this better. We have 42 clubs currently on the Team Surrey page. 19 athletes is not going to increase our buck standings. We are currently 42nd. I believe we have got the talent pool to be able to increase this further.
Thank you. So Jade, I would just like to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
So do you think that Team Surrey should prioritise participation or performance?
I would definitely say participation, because I feel like everyone is welcome in this huge society, because Team Surrey is not just about buck points, it's about people's involvement as well. And definitely like different kind of like smaller groups of ethnic people and like different backgrounds people. So yeah, definitely get more people to participate and involve in this Team Surrey. Yeah.
Thank you. You guys are handling my mean questions so well. Unbelievable. Okay, then we're going to go for a more general question. So, Varsity is a huge event for Team Surrey, and next year Surrey will be hosting again. Woo! So, what ideas do you have to make Varsity bigger and better? Let's start with
Nick.
Nick.
That's my name.
I've hosted way too many of these debates at this point.
Varsity, obviously the last couple of years haven't gone ahead. Back in my first year, it was a huge event. Everybody wanted to go along to it. Huge night after. Everyone was very proud to be Surrey that day. We obviously won for the X number of years in a row because we're better than Holloway. How would I make this bigger and better? Frankly, I don't think there's a necessity to make it bigger and better. I think the fact that we're all back on campus after COVID, everyone wants to get involved. As long as all the clubs are signed up, I think it's going to be bigger than ever this year.
And what are your thoughts, Jade?
Yeah, I agree with Nick, because after COVID, everything's recovered, and but we can put more things on social media to get more people from other places to get involved. Yeah, I think that's basically.
Thank you. Okay, back to some manifesto points. So, Jade, we have previously had a Team Surrey Equality and Diversity report produced. However, the report was unable to produce meaningful data due to low numbers of students filling it out. How will yours be different?
To make that difference, I feel like if you have to want someone to do something for you, you gotta give something back, and maybe previously people just give people forms to fill out, like, oh, you participate in this, and how do you think about that? But like they didn't get anything back. So maybe we can provide like Amazon voucher for the people who respond to the forms, and to get more people participate, because people love money.
All right then, Nick.
Hello.
Nick. What kind of team building events are you planning for committees, and how would they be effective?
So currently, a lot of the training is, as I'd probably say, they tick it off. You know, there's a president's training, social sec training, etc., etc. And I know for a fact that a lot of the people in committees don't care that much for it. They go along, they tick it off. They probably hung over when they're going. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't one time. I'd like to make it more interactive and an event that people would want to actually turn up to. For instance, a pizza night, a bowling night. Get people together doing things that are actually fun, and introducing, obviously, good ideas, building the teams up, and hopefully they'll take that on board better.
Nice, thank you. Okay, so we're going to take a question from the floor. I do believe our lovely current Team Surrey chair has a question ready to go.
Hi, can you hear me? How do you guys think you could make sports standing better and more engaging?
All right, let's start with Jade.
As I said previously, people loves money. So like this is human nature. So I feel like if you wanna get more people engaged, you gotta give something back. So maybe like to make the sports standing interesting by like making quizzes for people to answer instead of just giving the right answer. Just provide question to make people answer it, and then like the winner, maybe like he will get quality treat or Amazon voucher.
Thank you. And Nick, what are your thoughts?
So obviously at the moment we've got the 3-strike system. That's a huge incentive for clubs to turn up at least. No one wants to go dormant. To make them more engaging, frankly, I think you just need to give everything as a concise piece. People don't want to sit there and listen to rambling. People want to hear the information and go about their business. So that would be what I would like to do if I got elected.
Thank you. Okay. So I have another question for you both. So you both mentioned more free club sessions, such as more tryout sessions and an extended active freshers. How will you ensure this doesn't add more financial pressure to the clubs themselves? Let's start with Nick, please.
So most clubs have a membership fee for the year, some then half that at the end of the year. I don't believe this would be adding any extra financial pressures on clubs by extending active freshers, which was my manifesto point. It's currently only open for a weekend, so if people want to try out 2 different sports that are on at the same time, they obviously can't do that. I believe that opening it up so people can try as many things they want, see if they fit in well, then that's only going to improve sport culture here at Surrey.
Thank you. And Jade.
Yeah, so I've only been here for 2 years, but previously last year was in COVID, so I didn't participate in anything last year. And as a really experienced Team Surrey president, Nick, I would agree on his point. Yeah, I don't think there will add much financial pressure on it if it's just like buying badminton nets or balls. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So Jade, do you think a workshop on the benefits in sport will encourage more people to take part? So, for example, if someone isn't taking part in sport already, are they likely to go to a workshop on it?
You mean the trial sessions?
I do believe I mean I wrote these days ago. Hold on 1 second. Let me just find what I was referring to. The workshops on benefits in sport.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think like to encourage more people to participate in sports, like maybe have workshops. But what I mean was trial sessions, because people need to know what this sports is doing, what this club is doing. How am I interested in it? So if like they try it, they like it, and they will take part in it. So yeah.
All right, thank you. And Nick, so what kind of networking opportunities are you planning on to build inter-club relationships?
So to build inter-club relationships, I was thinking of starting an initiative called Collab Week. I didn't put this on my manifesto, but something where we really push clubs and societies to interact and gel together. As a start of that, I was thinking that we could host something similar to my other point, like a pizza night, bowling maybe not because there's too many people, where we get people that actually want to interact with the session, talk to each other, and then hopefully the week will be a success.
Thank you. Okay, so another question for you both. Do you think the running of sports clubs should be done completely by SSP staff, or should we keep it at the union? Can we start with Nick, please?
Tough question. So, I think it's got to be kept at the union because clubs need to be held accountable. There's obviously been a few incidents over the years of bad cultures, toxic cultures, which needed to be stamped out. I don't think that over at SSP they necessarily get involved enough to stamp that sort of thing out. They don't have the ethics behind it. And that is why I think you should stay at the union.
Thank you. Jade, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. For like, let the union to run it, because I feel like student knows students. So if they're running it, then they can get more people engaged. Engaged. So yeah, I would say student union.
Thank you. Okay, so the spoiled countdown timer time. All right, so we're gonna go for a classic old one. I was meant to get you pens. Does anyone have any pens?
If someone would get me a pint at the same time, I'd really appreciate that.
Anyone got a pen? Oh, a pen. Is there another one about? Oh, that'd be great, thank you. I'll take any kind of pen, that'd be fantastic. Oh, thank you, Solomon. All right, so you both have paper, thankfully. All right, so can you please write down for me? So we're going to give you a 40-second timer. That's the scary countdown timer. So we're going to give you 45 seconds. Can you please write down as many Team Surrey sports clubs that you can think of? I'm going to just tilt this down so you can't see what I've written, which is the answers. Okay, go. It's free time. Hopefully crew have got it coming. There we are. That's always my favourite part of this. All right, pens down. No more. All right then, so would you please show us what you've written? Jade, may you start?
Ooh, okay. So men's rugby, women's rugby, badminton, tennis, weightlifting, basketball, men's basketball and women's basketball, baseball, and I only wrote dodge. Does that count?
Dodgeball is a society.
Does dodge count as a society?
I might get yelled at on that on the Twitter wall, but they're not on the Team Surrey page.
Oh, is it? Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure they're not. Let me double check. They're not on my list.
It's all right.
It's all right. All right, cool. They are not. I've been fact-checked. All right. What have you written?
So in the allotted time, I managed to get archery, powerlifting, weightlifting, obviously, football, well, men's football, touch rugby, cricket, women's football, golf, equestrian, American football, lacrosse, and that was all I got in the allotted time.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's do a count.
And trampolining.
1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we only have one rugby club, so I'm only going to give you the one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How many do you have again?
I had 10.
Yeah, 10. We have our winner. Unfortunately, just for my little game, not for the actual debate. All right, thank you so much for that. I always enjoy these little things. Okay, so we're going to go back to a nice normal question that requires no pens to be suddenly brought to me. All right, so there are many groups of peoples who are often disenfranchised in sport, such as LGBT, women, people with disabilities, people of different ethnic groups, etc. So which of these groups would you most like to focus on for increasing participation? Can we start with Jade, please?
Personally, I would say LGBTQ because, like, around the world, people have been discriminating them for a long time. So I feel like you need to put more focus on them to absolutely not let anyone to discriminate them and to make them feel encouraged, engaged to, because they're normal people just like every of us. So. Yeah, I would say make them feel normal to come. Yeah.
And Nick?
I don't think you can single out a single group. I think you need to have a culture that accepts everybody. And ultimately, if someone tries out a session and they don't feel like the culture accepts them, that is why they won't join. It's not necessarily because they're part of a particular group. I think there needs to be a big focus on committees stamping out awful behaviours against these not ethnic minorities, but against, groups that struggle to get involved.
Thank you. Okay, so Team Surrey standings have been a mixture of in-person and online this year due to COVID. Each have their pros and cons, but as Team Surrey chair, what is your stance? Would you prefer more online or in person? Can we start with Nick, please?
100% in person. Online is handy for people to sit there and not listen. If you're there in person, you can't get away with sitting on your phone as such and not listening. I know for a fact people could sit there with their cameras off, tune in, scan the QR code online, and not pay any attention. You've got to do things in person, engage people, and make sure that they understand the content that's going on.
Thank you. And Jade?
I agree with Nick because just like every of us, for example, when we are doing lectures, we just sleep there or just turn off our microphones definitely and turn off our video. So we are not focusing, just like, yeah. And even though like Zoom calls can bring us together online, but I feel like if you really want to have this energy together, you have to participate in person because like now everything's open. So why not come and join us and do the Team Surrey standing thing? Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, finally, the most amazing question of the entire night. Who would you like to be your VP activity? Can we start with Jade, please?
I really can't say like someone specific because I don't like, because I feel like everyone's doing amazing and their manifesto looks amazing and different people, they just represent different culture and different things. They focus on different things, although there are many mutual things as well. But personally, I think like Karin, Katie, and Edwin, everyone, they're doing an amazing job, and they all have different aspects for people to say like, oh, I want to vote for him, I want to vote for her. So yeah, I think everyone's amazing. I don't mind to work with any of them because I believe cooperating with any of them will be the amazing experience in my life. Yeah.
Thank you. And Nick?
Similarly to Jade, I could absolutely work with any of the candidates going for VP activity. They're all brilliant, but definitely from a manifesto point of view, my points line up most with Cam Tukes. I think Cam Tukes would be a brilliant VP activity. And yeah, fingers crossed.
Great, thank you very much. All right, well, thank you so much for such a fascinating debate. This will be my last one because I'm graduating.
Woo!
So eventually, one day I will leave. All right, so thank you so much for making this so enjoyable.
Vote hashtag strongest chair on campus.
Hashtag stronger, together we stronger Team Surrey.
Yes. All right, so after a quick break, we'll be back for your debate for your VP activity. Thank you so much, guys.
I can feel this on my back. Hello guys, and welcome back to Pundits Corner. So obviously, we heard from the candidates that are running for Team Surrey Chair. What are your thoughts on the whole thing about inclusion and so forth?
Yeah, I think it was a really interesting debate. I think both candidates were really like passionate and really enthusiastic about the role, which is it's really nice to see. I think Team Surrey Chair, whoever wins, is going to be in really good hands. So from my perspective as a VP activity right now, it's really like nice to see that it's going to continue in a really good stead and carry on from Diana's legacy, from being Team Surrey Chair twice in a row.
Back to back.
Back to back, I know. Yeah, it was a really interesting debate. I think Jay did really well. I think Nick did really well, but in different ways, and I can't really split them up or say that either did anything bad or anything wrong. So
that was a debate.
Interesting. What about what do you think, Theo?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there. They're both clearly coming from quite, different schools of thought. You've got, one guy who's, got the sporting background, maybe a bit more of the kind of, Team Surrey elite tenure, and then, the other candidate who's a bit more kind of inclusion focused, which is is equally as important. And the skill is regardless of which kind of campaign point you get elected on, you've got to then be able to tie in the other half once you're in the job, right? So it'll be I completely agree with that. I think they're both very strong candidates, and I really enjoyed that debate.
So in talks about inclusion, what do you guys think could be done more to further include people from different groups?
I mean, for me, something I'm going to be working on, and have been working on all year, is reducing the BAME gap in sport. I remember when I was campaigning, I was looking through the data, and it was bad. It was really askew in the worst way possible. So I wanted to look into more why the BAME kind of community don't feel like they can be involved in sport, because nobody should feel like they can't get involved in sport, or there shouldn't be that skew in data, So I want to split up the BAME. The BAME is an outdated title, I think. I don't know what you guys think, but I feel like you need to separate BAME out into different subgroups, and kind of when you look at each individual group with their own kind of queries and questions and problems, you can then address each issue individually as well. And once you look at everything really intrinsically, you put it all back together again, and actually it's a really inclusive atmosphere and place to be. So, yeah.
That's fair. What about you, Theo?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit off air between ourselves in terms of kind of, the question that was asked in the debate about kind of which group would you want to focus on, and I personally, as someone who's in a wheelchair, I think that there is an element of, not trying to say that leave people with disabilities out or anything. That's definitely not. But there is only so much you can do, right? There's no amount of campaigning or awareness or positive action that we can do that will make it so that I can, play rugby, right? And that's fine. I'm okay with that. I've got over it. But
that it shouldn't be like that. And
no. But my point is that, like, you know, one of the candidates touched on like wanting to help LGBT kind of groups, and that's what, you know, that's where I think that the energy should go in those, you know, whether it be a kind of religious thing or LGBT or other kind of groups like that, where you've got, you know, areas and groups where perhaps it's more of a comfort thing or a culture shift that those kind of, you know, something that a SAB or a chair, you know, in the union could help with.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that was kind of what they lean towards.
Yeah, and I think there's a few things we're working on at the moment that are going to be benefiting inclusion. And like you said, I mean, just because you feel like something can't be done doesn't mean nothing should be done.
Yeah.
Like, you love...
we could give it a go.
Give it a go, week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's a good plug.
Put me on the wing.
But when it comes to... You love rugby, so we need to make sure that you've got an inclusive area for you to watch rugby. And
you can go and yell at them at the side.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're a good, like, cheerleader for such a club, wouldn't you? But, yeah, we're looking into certain things to help benefit different groups. So, for example, I think we're just about to finish LGBT History Month, and we bought a load of rainbow laces from Stonewall's charity, and we're dishing them out to all the varsity teams. So there'll be a lot of campaigning on that front. But then also we're looking into more inclusive teamwear for the next vendor at Team Surrey. So there's a lot of things that are slowly in the works, and it's never going to be a quick fix.
Yeah,
like, realistically, if inclusion was an easy fix, it would have been done 5-10 years ago, you know? But it's not. It's a really hard thing. Same with comms.
So what, like, clubs, have you been in any clubs?
You know what? Fun fact, there's one club I've kind of been a part of, and it was only because I accidentally went to a session.
What was it?
It was touch rugby. So
Oh, fair.
It was in my first year, and I meant to go to the dodgeball session, but I got the times mixed up. And when I turned up, I saw a group of people on Pat's Field, and I was like, "Oh, look, this must be dodgeball. I'm just in the wrong place."
Yeah.
I was a bit hungover, and I then saw all the touch rugby balls on the floor. I was like,
wrong sport.
But I was too shy to just like walk away or whatever. So I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure." And I was wearing like AstroTurf shoes on like a muddy like Pat's Field, so really not the right attire at all. So that's the only sports club I've really been involved with. I also did a lot of six-a-side football actually.
Fair.
So a bit of football.
What about you?
Rugby.
I was going to say, you did some football.
I did football. I like to think I'm quite the pro, but no, I did football, girls football.
I remember you coming back into the office after, like, had you stopped for a bit
Yeah,
and then you
I
came
stopped
back
for
with a
a
broken
bit,
leg
yeah.
or something?
It wasn't ideal because I hadn't gone to football for a while, and then the one time I went, I got injured, and I was like, oh, mate, crutches is what it is. But this year, been back in full force, and it's definitely a great space. Apart from like working or studying, whatever you do, I think getting involved in sports is just a great chance for you to just chill out and not think about anything, because when you're there, all I think about is football, trying to be so immersed in it. I'm not thinking, oh, I've got a disciplinary on Monday. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're so immersed in what you're doing, and that's why I love it.
And I think university is the best time to try out all these
100%.
sports. Like, realistically, like, sport can be expensive at times, especially when you're not a student. Like, when you're going out into the real world after university, you go to a sports session, and depending what sport it is, you need to buy all the equipment for it. Sometimes you need training sessions on it. So, for example, archery, I went to a free taste session to, like, learn how to actually fire a bow and arrow. And it was great, it was amazing, and I got to kind of tick something off my list. Whereas if I was doing that externally, I'm sure it would cost a fair penny. So now is the best time to do it. And if you're starting like in your university time as well, you have that chance to make friends, you've got your time to integrate into a club, and then maybe you actually get really involved in that sport, and it becomes a massive passion, you know.
And there's so many like chances to like try new things, because there's active freshers where you could get involved and try different little things. And obviously we also have Give It a Go week, because I think that was definitely a great chance for me to like try something different. Because typically, yes, I've been doing football since school. So obviously football is something I carried on, which is why I was part of women's football. But during Give It a Go week, I also did like, or active fresh, I went to badminton, I went to table tennis, I tried women's basketball. So I think it's definitely it's definitely a good chance to like try different things across the board.
I can't remember what sports I didn't try active freshers. I did a bit of everything. But yeah, now is definitely the best time to do it, and you're absolutely right. Like, you get completely engrossed in it, and it gives you an entirely like it just splits up your week. You don't want to be in lectures 9 to 5 every single day and not have a break from revising and studying, etc. It allows you to have that social kind of aspect as well and blow off some steam.
Agreed. If you give one advice for someone running for the current position, what would it be?
Team Surrey chair?
Yeah.
I think, well, probably kind of what I touched on at the beginning in terms of do kind of keep those two schools in mind of get every people involved, you know, and we touched on it in societies as well. You know, there is that big aspect of get involved, get as many people doing it, play sport, but then also there is the kind of elite buck side that you need to look after and having that relationship with the sports park. And so kind of tying those two things together.
Fair. For me personally, I would say, even though I'm not Team Surrey chair, I would say definitely go to the sessions of different clubs, because even if you're like football is your thing, your Team Surrey chair, you're there to represent everyone, still try to go along to a play sport session of different clubs, just so it's like you're visible, you're there, you're participating. What about you, James?
Ooh, top tip. I think I don't want to be a copycat, but it's kind of leaning off what Theo said. It's a very fine.
I've come in here out of my depth in activity zone, and he's stealing my point.
No, it's a very fine balancing act. Trying to make your sports as good as possible, make it as elite as possible, getting all the best sportsmen, but without making it too elitist.
Yeah, I hear you.
Making it inclusive, removing barriers to entry. It's a very fine balancing act, because you can go all in on the Bucks points, and you could really got the tables, do a Loughborough, for example, have like a sporting union and stuff like that, and then you become a little bit less inclusive. Whereas if you go fully inclusive, sure, your Bucks points might fall, your elite sport kind of might fall a little bit more. So it's about like finding that kind of equal balance. Yeah, especially with the more expensive sports as well.
Yeah, completely agree with everything you guys mentioned. That was obviously the Team Surrey chair debate. The next debate will actually be VP activity. So see you guys in a second.
Big one.
Yeah.
Big one.
Please welcome to the stage your chair for the VP activity debate, Solomon Miladies.
I'm really happy. They played Running in the 90s as my walk-on theme. I'm very happy. So, are we ready for the VP activity debate? Well, I think we should invite our candidates onto the stage.
Please welcome to the stage your candidates for VP activity.
Great. Are we all comfortable? Ready to go? Ready to go? Awesome. Great. Okay. So I'm going to give our candidates 30 seconds to introduce themselves with their name and why it is that they're running. And if we start with you, please, Katie.
Hi guys, I'm Katie Crump. I'm a third-year stage manager at GSA. I do women's rugby and really want to be VP activity this year, so here I am running.
Great, thank you. And if we could go to you, please, Cameron.
Hello, I'm Cameron too. I've been massively involved within football, surf, and a number of different societies throughout my time at uni. I'm at my 4th year. I'm a really big believer that societies are best run from the top down when as much focus is put on the signatories to give them the best opportunity to make societies the best they can. It affects every single aspect of the pyramid all the way down from the top to the bottom. So that's why I'm really passionate about making societies and clubs the best they can be from the top.
Great, thank you very much. And Edwin?
Hi, my name's Edwin. I'm a final year chemical engineering student. I'm currently your president of Tennis Society this year, and I'm also the men's first team captain. In previous years, I've been an activator and also communications officer for tennis. I'm also involved in other clubs such as cubing and badminton. I just want to give something back to the uni. I want to help people financially, and I want to help make things more efficient and more streamlined within societies. So yeah, thank you guys.
Great, thank you. And Carwing, please.
Hi, I'm Carwing. I'm a final year politics student and I'm currently the president of Yoga Society, and I was also the media manager of Abacus last year. I'm running because societies have made an amazing impact on my university experience since my first year of joining. I've met people from my culture and so many other different cultures, and some of my best friends are from societies, and all I want to do is ensure that all the students have just as an amazing experience as I've had.
Fantastic. Ooh. Christ. Is that okay? Great. Timely. I was going to just remind candidates if they could please speak into the microphone to make sure everyone can hear you And then it screeched on me, so you know. So we're going to start with a round of individual/manifesto questions. So the first question I would like to ask is to you, Cameron. Did you speak to anyone about the feasibility of your manifesto?
Yes, I did. So, in terms of who I spoke to the common societies, people that I know are in signatory positions, people that I know who are in the intramural leagues. I felt like I spoke to a range of people who are heavily affected by what goes on from the top, as I said, to the bottom.
So did you speak to anyone that works for the union? Or did you just speak to clubs and societies?
I just spoke to clubs and societies, yes.
Okay, so you didn't check that any of your ideas were feasible?
I also spoke with VP Activity in my first chat with him when I said I was running, when he gave me a bit of advice about what I wanted to do, where my head was at. That's when I first spoke to him. But no, I was mainly getting in touch with people who were in positions that I'd say, student positions that are affected by it. For instance, people...
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I have some manifesto questions. I want to talk about your transport point.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you want to aid clubs and societies with transport. We have the minibuses, and they sit empty every Wednesday. So what do you suggest? What's the problem with transport?
So the main point in particular there with the minibus debacle is that so many people aren't actually registered to drive the minibuses because there's been a lack of minibus testing recently. I know people right now who do drive the minibuses when they can are in their 4th or 5th year. So by the time that they've graduated next year, there will not be anyone to even drive them when they can. So it's massively about getting people on the minibus test and having the availability to recruit people so that they can be used.
Okay, thank you for that. And then on to the next... My next point would be then, we have the union cars. Do you think they're fit for purpose?
I do. I've driven them on a few times. I've driven them for football games on Wednesday. I've driven them down to Newquay on surf trips. So
they say that they're 7-seaters. Just remind me what sport you're in again. Just remind me.
So I do football, surf, are sort of my main
So some of those lads are pretty big.
Yeah.
How are they going to fit in the back? So we did this for trampolining, and we had a very petite girl that sat in the back, and she was in discomfort from just a 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
So do you still think the cars are fit for purpose?
I think it is a bit of a squeeze sometimes, and if there's opportunity to be able to get better cars, that is definitely something that I think people would benefit from if there is those problems, definitely. And things like coaches as well, when you can't just do, because it's not, every sport's not just 7 people in a car. Sometimes it's getting coaches when you need over 30 people to go. And I know American football have a massive problem with that when they compete and they have to go over someone's 2 hours. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Cameron. So we're going to move on to Katie now. Same question for you. Did you speak to anyone about the feasibility?
Yeah, I spoke to the current VP Activity about the feasibility of my manifesto and kind of ballparked some ideas that I'd had, and he seemed to believe that they were mostly achievable manifesto points, and also said that the my religious and inclusive sportswear manifesto point he was also very passionate about, and we were intending to work on this year but just hadn't got round to working on it yet just because it came so late in the year.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I read it on your manifesto. Bring it up from your and I didn't quite understand what you meant by it. So what you just mentioned these things, which is great, but what do you want to do with them?
So I also noticed that as well after I'd printed off about 50 copies of them. But it was more the introducing religious and inclusive sportswear onto the USSU website and have it readily available at Surrey Sports Park, because it should be no less accessible for anybody that does wear religious head coverings to be able to partake in any sport that they feel passionate about. And I've spoke to students that wouldn't partake in a sport because they understand that there are limits to them being able to play because of these issues, which are so simple and so easily can be resolved with a couple of some money going into them and finding ones that are susceptible for being able to be used in books and everything.
Great, thank you. So to follow up from that, did you speak to the Sports Mart to see if that's stuff that we could get put online, available, not online, well, online available?
with the stuff that they already sell at the sports park, you can buy basketballs, pool floaties and everything like that. I just thought that it would be something that would be as simple as that to integrate, but I would need more follow-up chats with them.
Okay, great. And then final question for you then is about the rainbow laces. Don't we already do that?
We do already do rainbow laces, but it's more to have them all year round and not just in the Pride months that we promote them in, and hopefully having a portion of the money that we make from the rainbow laces going towards an LGBTQ plus charity would be really good, I think, and we can work with RAG for that as well. And I'm sure a lot of the sports teams would be really invested. Obviously, coming from women's rugby, they always donate the proceeds and like to take that to LGBT charity, and it's more representation for gay people, queer people within sports as a general.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Carwin, hi. So, same question for you. Did you speak to anyone about the feasibility of your manifesto?
Yeah, so I spoke to the current VP activity, and also spoke to the Team Surrey chair. And yeah, I think loads of the points are feasible. It just depends on how to implement them.
Great, thank you very much. So we're going to go through. I see on your manifesto. Let me bring it up. Okay. You say, where have we found it? Encourage societies to have at least one women's-only session a month. So is that just societies?
Oh, no, it's clubs and societies as well. When I was holding the stalls for Yoga Society, I've had a woman from some religions come up to me saying, oh, are your sessions mixed gender? I had to be like, yes, they are. And then that did deter them from joining. So it's a bit like This Girl Can Week and the women's only sessions they have. I just want to make that more than just once a semester.
Okay, so I've got a few questions about that. Would men's football have to do a women's only session?
No, because there's like women's football.
Okay.
And there's representation in like women's rugby.
So what about trampolining that has 70 to 80% women on it?
I mean, that's only...
As an example, there are other sports that are female dominated.
I mean, that's only an issue if there are clubs and societies where women might feel a bit more anxious about joining, whereas if trampolining, there is that representation and that safety for women there, then that's absolutely fine.
Okay. And why only women and not other marginalised groups?
We can definitely increase the more marginalised groups. It's just that women's safety is a big priority across the union at the moment, so that's why we wanted to work on that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And Edwin, I have a few questions for you. Same one as everybody else. Did you speak to anyone from the union about the feasibility of your manifesto?
Not particularly from the union, but I've definitely spoken to other signatories and other club members within my club and other clubs that I'm part of. And yeah, sorry.
Great, thank you. So I did want to pull up some of your points on finance. So you, so I just pull up your manifesto. I want to go through it together. Just give me 1 second. Thank you. So you wanted to separate out. You wanted to have the sports park membership include the Team Surrey membership. That's part of your manifesto.
Yes, I believe when I was here in first year that was the case, and then due to COVID, that wasn't the case. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe when I was in first year, the gold membership also included Team Surrey membership. I believe that is a true fact. I guess due to COVID and changes and things, that has changed, but I just want to bring that back. It's a simple manifesto point, and sometimes simple is the best. So, yeah, it's literally as it is on a tin.
Do you think that's fair for people that don't want to be part of a sports team and just want to go and join the gym and swim?
Yeah.
That they're then paying for something extra?
Yeah, so if they're like not competing in bucks or like not so-called part of Team Surrey, they want to be part of Play Sport, which is still part of Team Surrey, but not so-called Team Surrey, the £40 membership. That's so, further on to that, my point is that like, there'll be like multiple memberships in the sense that there'll be one for specific bucks players, there's one for like social players and recreational players, and obviously people that don't, for some reason don't want to be part of Team Surrey, they just want to go use the gym and do their own independent thing.
But doesn't that already exist with the current setup, whether people can just pay for sports centre membership?
Yeah,
and now
so-
you're trying to include Team Surrey in with it at the same time.
Yeah, so especially, I think there was the case. I think it's just more the fact, just trying to broaden the variety of memberships, really.
Great, and then I did have a follow-up question about the including the separate membership. Is it fair to have separate memberships where, in effect, what you're doing is discriminating against people that are competent in their sport by having these stage memberships?
I wouldn't say it's discrimination. I have to say that, you know, not everyone's exactly a sports scholar. Not everyone's exactly like, you know, like of the same ability of play standard, and everyone has different needs. Essentially, that's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to discriminate anyone, their ability, but like I'm just trying to make it fair, like in terms of the finances and money-wise, just fair for everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We're now going to do a round of group question, and this is on employability. So far from what I can see, only Edwin mentioned employability on his manifesto, but it is part of the role of VP activity. So I'm going to go round. I want you to mention why you didn't mention it on your manifesto, and then what you would do in your role as VP activity for it. It was one of the Pulse targets, employability, so it is quite important. We're going to start with you, Katie, please.
I'd like to do more research into the employability aspect of the VP activity role, but I think that the more that we can communicate better through societies and through teams, and everybody has the opportunity to express themselves about how they'd like to be employed and how they could be more employable, and just having those conversations with students within these groups, that we can work collectively to make them more employable thing, but yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. And if we could go to Carl Wing, please.
I think joining societies and especially joining the committees, people know that that provides so many employable skills already. Obviously, it's better to push it through the Employable Me programme even more, but it's just more of an emphasis of what sort of employable skills that joining committees can bring.
Great, thank you very much. Cameron?
Yeah, so one of my points, especially in my connection section, is about offering clubs and societies further digital media training, because that is absolutely massive going forward. In a digital age, it's so important to be able to be digitally literate. So we don't have an actual training for social media sex, and when you're on Instagram, and it's maybe your freshly, and you're trying to see what society you want to, when you see the clubs and societies that have done their whole font in Comic Sans, you may be like, am I going to take them seriously? So it's in terms of giving actual training to we have social media we have social sec training, we have president training, but we don't have a sort of social media sec training. And where that is maybe the determining factor of if you're going to get involved in a club and society, I think that is so impactful, and especially going on into the future when you're working in a job maybe that has a digital media section of it, it could massively benefit people.
Great, thank you very much. And lastly, if we could work, Edwin, you did mention it on your manifesto, so I have a few different questions for you. So can you elaborate on your workforce development funding?
Yeah, so essentially, what I believe is that at the start of this year, this is from like a personal experience, for the tennis stock, we had a lot of people looking to do like their level 1 coaching course, level 2 coaching course. Especially a lot of the captains that we have, they didn't have any coaching courses, so, and we actually got rejected because I think I guess there wasn't enough development, and like I just want to spread it around multiple, well, like all the clubs, if you know what I mean, and like essentially it's just to give. If we had more workforce development and more workforce development funding, I assure you that like the sessions would run smoother, so it will benefit the club members, but furthermore, it would benefit like the people running it, right? It will help the CV, it will help the best of both parties, essentially.
Great, thank you. Well, I do have some follow-up. We already run a lot of courses and they're poorly attended, so,
yes.
So just on general employability, so I know you've spoken about coaches. So what will you do to try and empower members to go to those?
Literally, I thought about this in my sleep last week, and I was thinking incentives, like, you know, as Jade said, and the team union chair, like Amazon vouchers, but like, okay, not just Amazon vouchers, but like definitely some sort of incentive, you know. I guess, for example, this is not relevant to, actually it is relevant, but it's not relevant. Like, you know, I remember Jodie saying there was like 20 citrus tickets if you participated in the Kelly's 10K run. Yes, it's not relevant to employability, but that's an incentive, right, for people to do things. So now just doing that same thing in like employability terms.
Great, thank you very much. Great, I just want to take this opportunity to thank all the candidates for coming on stage. You're all doing great. I know it is nerve-wracking to be up here, so you're all doing very, very well.
You're doing really well as well.
So we're going to move on to some individual questions, and we're going to start with you, Carling, if that's okay. So you said you wanted to promote small societies. What do you mean by this?
So I've discussed this with the previous VP activity, and there are so many societies which are purely running just because the members don't want it to go dormant. So they're like barely hanging on by a thread, and it's giving them more support, giving them more promotion. Loads of people don't know about things like Baking Society, Feminist Society, things like that. So it's about giving them more promotion, maybe through the Surrey Society's Instagram page and things like that, just so that they can sustain themselves.
Perfect, thank you very much. So I do have a bit of a question about the small society. Is it fair that smaller clubs should get preferential treatment over the bigger clubs?
I think it's more about support than preferential treatment, because the larger societies that everyone already knows about, they are sustaining, they're fantastic, and they've really got all the support they need, whereas some of the smaller societies don't have that, and that's the sort of stuff that we need to provide for them to get a bigger name in the union.
Okay, thank you. So if we move on to Cameron, hi. You've put about improved communication between clubs, Team Surrey and the union in your manifesto. Doesn't this already happen? Don't we do this already?
I think it's one of the things that we try to do, but often with the people that I've talked to and the issues that they face, it's when criticism is received with a wall. It's when criticism doesn't actually go any further. It gets shut down very quickly and very early. I think if clubs have an opportunity to speak their mind to someone within the union themselves, or for instance like a VP activity, if you did a sit-down session, you did 10 minutes, you could say all the bad things, all the good things, and you get a real overview from every point and every perspective.
Right, it's already a massive time sink trying to organise meetings between them all. So how regular are you looking at making them?
I'd say once a semester is fine. I think once a semester for a 10-minute chat that could perhaps benefit a society for the rest of the year.
How many societies do we have?
How many societies do we have? I think we have over 150.
It's around about that number, so that's quite a lot of time.
I think
that you're then expecting a full-time member of staff to dedicate on top of what they already do.
Yeah, I had a little chat with James and another one of the guys from American football who was going to run for VP activity, but no, couldn't. He was really passionate about it, and so we talked in depth about even the VP activity, having a 10-minute session with different clubs and societies. If you spread that sort of 150 clubs across a substantial period, just to have a 10-minute chat, just to link in. And often it happens where different clubs and societies have the same issue, but maybe it's not getting addressed across the board. So that's something that I'd like to look into.
Do you think people will turn up to it?
Yes, I think it would, because I know often within clubs and societies, especially signatories, they often chatter amongst themselves. And when an issue becomes bigger than just their club, people find the need to address it. And when they can't, and criticism can't be, I think it's the main factor is when criticism can't be sort of responded to, that's when it breaks down, because it just goes, oh, classic Team Surrey or whatever, not listening to us. It's when we need to actually develop a communication that progresses things forward.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And if we move on to Edwin, I'd like to have a chat about your collaboration opportunities on your manifesto. So there's it's like a third of your manifesto, so I thought we'd have a little look on that. Can you elaborate on what you mean by it? So you've got detailed guidance into effective communication with committees and clubs, and then you've also got more internal competition and events. So I just wanted to, what you meant by that, how you see it going.
Yeah, so I'll start with the first bullet point. That's more towards like communication. Obviously, from my personal, just from my personal experience, sometimes there's been like breakdown communication within the committee, and also there's been like a lack of communication towards club members in general. So all that essentially is just providing guidance like on the Microsoft Teams groups that signatories are in, and like you know, at the start of the year you have the Team Surrey conference. That could be one thing that we can train people on. It's a simple thing, and it's a document that's going to be there for the rest of the year, so people don't need to like force themselves to come to a session that they don't want to come to, like especially if they feel they're competent enough, and like signatories that have been there for like 2-3 years, of course. But like it's to help the people that have, you know, just been elected as a signatory, if they're new members, and yeah.
Great, thank you. I want to home in on the collaborations rather than the communication. So you say you want to hold more collabs. We currently have One World Week, Winter Ball, Varsity Colours and Union Ball. What's missing?
Yeah, so the events that happened so far, like they're all amazing. Definitely going to continue that for next year. I think in terms of like clubs with like maybe like the not so established clubs, like the smaller ones, just giving them a chance to as well, like just finding events. You know what, I'll be completely 100% honest, haven't thought of an event yet that includes like, that will entitle like all the smaller clubs as well. But definitely, you know, if I were to be elected over the summer, over time, definitely trying to get like the smaller clubs and societies involved. No?
Okay, great. Just a second. And we're going to move on to you, Katie, as the final candidate question for this round. You talk about free sessions. Can we have a little discussion about that from you? What are you seeing with these free sessions?
Free sessions have already been trialled and executed within the past couple of years. When I was doing some research into the role, I saw that Izzy had done it a couple of years back and had done opportunities for like swim sessions and stuff like that, and they'd been really successful. And it was more the continuation of the use of facilities that we already have at the sports park but aren't being used at the time. So like early bird sessions for the swimming pools from like 7 a.m. till 9 a.m. where people don't really use it that frequently, and before any classes start, and they can just have a paddle or whatever.
Okay. I kind of thought you meant free sessions with clubs and societies, not free sessions with the sports centre. So that's my misunderstanding. So I'm really glad that you clarified that. So have you, following on from that, did you speak to anyone at the sports park to see what would be available? So the swimming one was a particular one when she came to, because I think it was my debate. I checked that they spoke and it was feasible. So
yeah.
But that was a special one. So do you know of any other classes that might work for?
I thought about utilising the climbing walls that they've got there and stuff, but I understand that they have like provisions and they obviously don't want anybody to get hurt, so that would take a bit more looking into. But like there's a climbing wall that isn't in use all hours of the day, so just short sessions where people could just have a trial run, and then that could induce more people wanting to try out the climbing club and everything like that, and lead to more memberships, lead to more funding, and everybody can just have a go before they invest, because sport's expensive.
So with freshers and refreshers, a few of the clubs and societies already offer free, well, I think all clubs and societies, I believe, fact check anyone if I'm wrong, they offer free sessions already, so everyone has a trial. So what extra that they're doing? Because isn't this then starting to take away from the training of other clubs and societies, like the actual paying members?
So paying members will have their sessions, and they are led by the people that are paid to teach how to do climbing and everything like that. But it would be more throughout the year. You know, there's freshers fair, refreshers fair, but the rest of the time, the rest of the other months when there's not really anything going on, and you go, but I wish I joined women's rugby halfway through my first year in February, where there's no free sessions. I had to go, and I'd been there for 2 weeks, and they were like, please will you pay membership so we can play you in our games? And it was like, okay, this is going to be over £100, and I've done 2 sessions. So it was a big jump, but I did it anyway, but it was a bit more to give the opportunity to the people that weren't in a financial situation where they could put that much into it off the bat straight away.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. It's a very enthusiastic crowd today. We love it. So we're now going to go on to a game that I've developed, which I like to call the Wheel of Misfortune. My beautiful co-host, Chloe, who's going to be a game show bimbo, is going to spin the thing. So would you like to remove the rainbow flag? So on the Wheel of Misfortune, we have different areas of the role of VP activity. We have Team Surrey, employability, societies, and a general Team Surrey question. And what Chloe's going to do is for each one of you, she's going to spin it, and where it lands, we're going to see what the question turns out. I've written questions for all of them. I've written 3, so let's hope that it doesn't land on the same colour 4 times. Otherwise, it's not going to be great for me. I have to think of a question on the fly. Oh, no, nice, Chloe. Nice. Yeah, looks good. Okay, so we're going to start with carving. So can you please roll it for carving? That landed on societies, so we're going to go to my preset societies question. So, ineffective SIG committee members are usually... Ineffective Team Surrey SIG committee members are usually quick to notice and resolve, as Team Surrey are there to help and manage clubs. Should there be a similar level of watchful eye for the societies where, typically, there can be committees that are really ineffective, they don't do anything, and nothing happens?
Yeah, I think that is a big issue, kind of what I put in my promotion area. What we really need is more consistent training. I've spoken to some committee members of smaller societies, and they said as a treasurer, they don't really learn much. All they know is like how to withdraw funds. So I think more consistent training with those SIGs who need it would be really fantastic.
But does that really help? The question's more people that just don't do anything, not necessarily because they don't have the skills, but because they're incompetent.
As in, they don't want to run the society?
They just haven't put on any events all year.
The thing is with societies is that they are self-run and they kind of run themselves as mini businesses, so we can't, as VP activity, as a union, as much as we want all societies to be involved, sometimes we can't force it. So if some societies do go dormant because it's not, the committee members just don't want to run it or anything, then sometimes that is how it's going to happen.
Okay, thank you. We're now going to spin the Wheel of Misfortune for Edwin, if that's okay. Oh, that landed on a general question. So this is for you. Okay. I like this one. This is a question I like a lot. The Team Surrey chair and the Society's exec chair, so this is hypothetical. The Team Surrey chair and the Society's exec chair are in a disagreement about some issue. So we have a couple. So like one example would be Team Surrey sports standing and society standing clash, or there's some money that one wants but the other one's trying to claim. How do you diffuse the situation?
How do I diffuse the situation? Well, I called a bomb squad. No, I'm joking. I wouldn't. No. No. Thank you. Okay. Well, that gave me some time to think, at least. Right.
Well, if you want, I can move on to somebody else.
No, it's okay. So, essentially, the question was asking, there's basically a disagreement between the Team Surrey chair and the Society's chair. So, I'd essentially, first of all, call a meeting. I'd obviously let both of them speak, let them prove their cases. After that, fundamentally, I definitely try to get a compromise, you know, like the both Team Surrey and societies are just as important as each other. I really do believe that. And so, obviously, if we just find a way that both people agree that we can split money fairly,
not necessarily evenly, because you want to fulfil both needs, but like as long as it's even, as long as everyone's happy, we're good.
Great, thank you very much. Just a reminder to the floor, you've done nothing wrong, just that as a VP, the VPs are in charge of their team, so that was a management style question, which we don't see a lot of, so that's why I was proud of that question. If we could spin now for Katie, please. Please. We have the employability. So, what has the...
Respin?
No. That's not how the Wheel of Misfortune works. Would that it could. Employability and finance. What has the Activity Zone done this year to improve employability?
Having attended quite a lot of the Activity Zone meetings as an honorary member, because apparently I wasn't very good in this. No, my support zone time was evenly spent in the Activity Zone as well. We've done loads. James, I'm not making Larry cry, am I? Sorry. I've worked hard with James. He's really worked hard on the Employable Me campaign and helping to promote it as well, because not many people knew about it. I didn't know about it before I was in the union, and just the promotion of it and trying to get it more out there with companies and businesses as well as just with the students as well.
And did it work?
So far?
So far?
So far, I haven't had any issues come back from it.
And will you continue such great work?
Always, always. Renowned for my great work.
And now we move to the final spin of the day, which is for Cameron. And we have a Team Surrey question. That's great. We've got like a different one for each one.
Mixed bag.
I know, fantastic. So you get the Team Surrey question. Mm-hmm. Many teams didn't get to train this year, and last because of the pandemic. And there is a knowledge and teams ethos gap. What will you do to make this better next year? Does that make sense? Would you like to rephrase it?
Could I have a little rephrase, please?
Yeah, basically, whereas in previous years everything's just continued next to the next, there's been a 2-year gap where people haven't been training, there haven't been regular sessions, the committee don't know how to do things. So what will you do to try and bridge that problem that's occurred?
Do you know what? It is 100% something that really affects football that I can personally do. Even this year, even like the post-Christmas lull, where we had really good engagement at the start, but now we've gone to this side of the year and Christmas has happened and it's sort of getting people back into that uni schedule that we all sort of know and love. I know weeks at uni go so fast, and sometimes it's good to just bring it back, sort of make things a little bit more easier, take one step at a time. So say training's an issue, we can't find somewhere to train, we haven't got the time to train. Let's focus on that, and at one stage at a time, progress from the biggest issues right at the start to the smallest issues.
So that's part of it, which is the ethos, but there's also the knowledge of how to run a society and how to engage with members and things that have gone well from one year to the next.
Yeah, so I think something that I've experienced, I would never have done this. In my first year, if you told me I'd be here now, I would have said, nah, that's not him. It's people picking out on the committee members that they think will be great for the future. I know right now because I'm in charge of the freshers team. So my team at uni, it's me, my captain, and the rest are all freshers. And I know some of the lads on that team will be absolutely fantastic chairmen in like 2 or 3 years' time. And it's helping them, it's picking them now and saying, you know what, if you'd be willing to do this, if you get involved with this, I think you'd be so good at this. You're great at people, you understand the knowledge of the club, you seek out people who you don't even know. You've gone up to them for the first time at a social and gone, hey, I heard you were the social sec. What sort of stuff do you do? How did you get involved with that? And I think it's picking those people early and getting them in positions where they can develop not only their position within the club, but generally within the uni.
Perfect, thank you very much. Well done to all the candidates. I think that was fun. And thank you to Chloe for the fantastic wheel spinning. We're now going to take a question from the floor. Ooh, we have multiple people put their hands up. I think we'll give it to our current VP support.
Hello everyone. I just wanted to know, some of you have mentioned that you've spoken to the Vice President activity. Why haven't you spoken to the zone manager about your manifestos?
Ooh. Okay, great. So if we're doing a floor question, I am going to start with you, Casey.
Shotgun, not me. Seeing as I was so heavily part of the activity zone this year round, I did get ample opportunities to speak to the zonees and how they felt being led by the current VP and their feelings towards that, and how they would have a better VP kind of thing, or not to say that James could get better, but how they would make improvements and what kind of person they were looking for, and tried to adapt that into myself, and so I would be the best VP for my zone next year.
Oh, well, I think the question was about the zone managers and the full-time member of staff. Please don't name, remember, no names.
Sorry.
Oh, you didn't name them, it's fine. I'm just saying not to name it, but the question was, why didn't you speak to the zone manager?
I only spoke to them in passing through through somebody's leadership.
No, James is fine, because he's a student. You can't, there's the people that work for the Students' Union that you can't name.
James said it would be in my best interest to speak to them before coming out, but I didn't get round to it. But I would know who to go to following. If I won, I would know who I'd need to speak to and interact with every day through the union.
Great, thank you. Cameron?
Yeah, so no, I didn't speak to them. I think I was so focused on talking to other societies about things that impacted them, and I was so caught up in sort of student issues that I didn't go to the board in terms of from a management point of perspective, and I kind of wish I did. I think it's a very busy campaign, and yeah, no, I definitely wish I would, and I think going forward, getting to know the union side of the student union would be really impactful, because in my student career, I don't know who half these people are. I know a lot of people currently on committees probably don't know who they are. So I think it's also getting them out there where people feel encouraged and welcome to go and speak to them about issues that they feel their clubs may be affected by.
Perfect, thank you. Edwin?
Yeah, similar to what Cameron just said. Like, I didn't speak to the management team there, but essentially I've just been taking on what other students have been suggesting, improvements to what could happen next year. And I just wanted to reiterate what Cam just said, like, essentially, I put the students first, essentially, and obviously going down the line, it's been a busy campaign and all that. I assure you that it will be okay.
Perfect, thank you very much. And last but not least.
I did try to reach out to a full-time member of Team Surrey, but unfortunately, just due to some timing issues, I wasn't able to meet them before publishing my manifesto. But I definitely will engage with more of the full-time members if I get elected.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our debate. So we have the final question for you all. And it's not the one you're thinking about. So I would like you to please name the qualities that you're looking for in a president. Short, snappy answers, 30 seconds, and then a tweet goodbye, if that makes sense. So the qualities you're looking for in the president, and then a tweet, like, you know, vote for me because I'm amazing, hashtag Team Surrey, or something like that. And we will do that, Katie first, if that's okay.
Friendly, personable, and with a lot of knowledge of the union as it is already.
And your tweet?
Hashtag vote KT and Crumpets.
Thank you. Cameron?
So yeah, personable massively, dedicated and extrovert, I'd say. It takes a certain person to be in that role that gets heavily involved, so that's what I'd say. And the thing, hashtag yes we can, hashtag take on Took.
And Carwing, please.
I want someone with a lot of charisma, extroverted, very enthusiastic, and I also want someone with some Team Surrey knowledge to bring the balance if I was to be elected. And my hashtag would be Carwing, put your faith in me.
Great, and ending with you, Edwin.
Enthusiastic, friendly, approachable, and very open-minded and hard-working. And hashtag Ed wins. Thank you. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So thank you to all the candidates. You all did fantastic. It's really grilling being up here, so well done to you all. You did great, all of you. Before we go, I just want to highlight to you all the... Sorry, I just want to highlight to you all... Can't even read. Just want to highlight to you all that the Union is having a vigil for peace in Eastern Europe at 1 p.m. on Thursday on the AP Plaza. Please come and join us to show your support for everyone who's been affected by the conflicts. And with that, goodbye and thank you. Please join us again tomorrow for the Voice, referendum and presidential debates.
Hello guys and welcome back to Pundits Corner. So that was great debate. It's very interesting, very interesting. They raised quite a few valid points there, in my opinion. And I think one thing that I think is also important to highlight is sometimes when people think of VP activity, people tend to gear towards like sports clubs, but a lot of it is actually also sports clubs and societies, because we generally do have a lot more societies than we do sports club. So you personally, James, how have you found like balancing the two, ensuring that you're given both equal amount of time?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So I am a society's VP activity, which is interesting because like, where there are so many societies, it's really hard to help every single one, which is why your emails are constantly jam-packed. Because I want to help everyone, but feasibly speaking, like you have to give a good amount of time to each society to help with any kind of things that are going on. So actually trying to balance them out, it's an interesting one, especially this year where we've had quite a big turnover in staff. Like the entire activity zone's kind of changed in one way or another. So actually my role this year it's been quite refreshing because I can kind of clean the slate and be like, right, we need to put an equal focus on both. If not, we need to put more of a focus on societies because we've got almost 3 times as many. So actually, it's a really hard thing to balance. Team Surrey obviously incorporates a lot of members at Surrey Sports Park as well. So they have a larger kind of staff pool to look after the 45 sports clubs that we do have, whereas societies, we only have myself, we allowed to say staff members' names here?
We have other staff members.
Our zone manager and our zone coordinator. Are we not allowed to say their names? Oh, wow. So we've only got 3 members of staff societies, but obviously Team Surrey incorporates about 5 or 6. So trying to find that balance is actually, it's almost like an impossible task, really. You then also have like different subgroups of society, different subgroups of club, and yeah, it's an interesting kind of question.
Completely. You mentioned Team Surrey there. How have you found maintaining a relationship between the Union and Team Surrey?
It's an interesting one. So obviously, again, we've had a large turnover in staff at Team Surrey this year. In fact, it's basically, no, it is an entirely new team for this year. So again, we've been able to start on a clean slate and we've been able to really like put our heads down and really work into what we want to kind of achieve in Team Surrey, not just this year, but for the future. And it's looking really promising. It's looking really, really bright. And like, obviously I'm only here for about 5-6 more months now, but I'm really excited to see what happens in the next 5-10 years from this kind of development.
Yeah. So you were previously VP Voiced, as was I. But obviously in VP Voiced, you don't really have the same experience as VP Activity, but one thing you do cross paths on is AGMs and EGMs.
Yes.
So how have you found that whole process and what do you think could be done better, maybe?
Ooh, that's taking me back. So my year was the one of the COVID year, the bad bit, and so we made a lot of concessions. In terms of like doing them online, how many people you had to have turn up, how many committee members, if you wanted to kind of not start a new society, but like maintain existing, you know, did you need only 2 committee members, I think it was. And so I think there was a lot of benefits that we took from that, like maybe running them online if you wanted to, but equally there was like some bad bits as well. Obviously, you know, ideally some of those concessions about not having as many people turn up and not having as many committee members is not something you want forever. You know, you do have to kind of let that go at some point. What was the other thing I was going to say? I do think that there is like some benefits to having AGMs online like that, but equally, and the candidates talked about this as well in terms of society standing, doing them in person also has really, like, you know, the community aspect as well. The other thing we discussed in we were talking about this offline as well, was like the the balance between who you get to run them, because some AGMs, they're quite small. There's like 15 people come or less even, and so having whether it be SABs or PTOs whose time is limited, because remember the PTOs are studying as well. It's not like that's the only thing they're doing. Going and administrating them, sometimes maybe that isn't the best use of time. But equally, on the other hand, some AGMs are really big. They can have I remember doing a couple that it got quite heated. There was some heated bits, and I had to I got a bit stressed, and so and I can imagine that if that wasn't a SAB running that, or if it was maybe like a course rep or something doing it, that's not as good either. So having kind of find that balance between the authorised people that can run them, because of course if you've got a member of the union in the room, that's a really good opportunity to like build bridges again. And we've talked a lot about kind of community building to this evening as well. There was loads of times where they'd ask you other questions, nothing to do with the AGM. It was just about having that person in the room to talk to. So I don't know, be interested to hear how you've done it this year.
Yeah, you've touched on a really important subject, because like the question kind of asked, there are pros and cons for both. So obviously if it's online, it's a little bit more inclusive. You don't have to travel into the university. You don't have to book a room. So actually it helps. Timetabling, love it. Timetabling, love everything being online, so you don't have to book rooms. But obviously, like Nick said in the Team Surrey debate, actually, the Team Surrey chair debate, where you have, if you have everyone in person, it is a lot more engaging. You can kind of give eye contact to people. You can make sure people aren't on their phones. If they're not paying attention, you can call them out. Whereas realistically, if you're
from
online,
a voting point of view as well, you've got a much better, you're not having people on different accounts and stuff, and you can see who's in the room, and it's better. It's much easier to get an idea of the membership list and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess on the other side as well, where if it's online, it's like you've just said, it's all on a form. It's a lot more kind of easier to read and collect the data afterwards. You have to take names for every single person or anything like that. So there really are pros and cons. This year, it's been a bit of both, because we've still had COVID. We've had that variant in the winter period. Obviously, we've all got our boosters and third jabs now, so we're all hopefully this is the end of COVID. But obviously, we're still living in that world where we're kind of figuring out what we want to do next. What is our recovery plan? So yeah, it's trying to go back to normal, trying to become engaging and gauging whether or not online is better than in person. For me personally, I prefer in person, but
I guess maybe some sort of mix. Maybe given the option would probably be
either or.
As usually with these things, it's rarely one way or the other is the right answer. Usually some sort of amalgamation of the two, meet in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we've got people like commuter students. Commuter students, obviously, they don't really want to travel in from maybe like London or Milton Keynes, as Michelle came down from the chair yesterday, to come and just do a single AGM. It's a long way for them to come. So actually having it online for people like that, great. So maybe we can make a process where you can Teams in, but we have most of it online and most of it in person. It's an interesting concept.
So for people that aren't necessarily aware of what a typical day in life looks like, because obviously you're the current VP activity, how would you describe a typical day or what you get up to?
No day is the same. I think that's the first thing to kind of say. No day is truly the same. You get asked, there's 170 odd different clubs and societies. There's different stakeholders. You've got Surrey Sports Park, you've got Team Surrey, you've got the university, you have Guildford, you have the students, you have the community as a whole, and then you've got the different sub-communities. And there's a lot of different people that contact you in a day with different questions. I remember, it's a bit of a story from a long time ago. When I was working in the finance team, I once had a woman come in asking where she could plant carrots on campus. And honestly, the one day in the union is a day like that where you get asked a really odd, random question. And then the next day you're talking about hybrid learning and stuff that's really in-depth and knowledgeable. So no day is the same, but I guess a typical day, you're starting off with your meetings, you're saying hi to everyone, make sure everyone's okay, they go on to work safely and so forth. Got a lot of emails, a lot of Teams messages, going through all the finance requests. It's always a thing I try and bat off at the start of the day, because a lot of them do come through. At the end of the day, it is what you make of it. So if you want to put loads of time into being really creative, running your own events, sure, you can do really cool things like that. But obviously then you're taking time away from your emails, your typical admin sort of tasks. Whereas if you go admin heavy,
then you're on
the other side. So again, it's all about balance.
It's all about finding the balance.
I think that's the thing I've learned most being a SAB, is it's all about balance and trying to keep everything on top.
That's a fair point. What about you, Theo?
What was my sort of average day when I was...
Yeah, when obviously it's different debate, but...
Yeah, obviously we didn't have a huge amount in person, so there wasn't... We had freshers a little bit, but most of it was, working from home on Teams and stuff. But, So as VP Voice, and you know, you could speak to this as well. There's probably a lot more meetings involved, and you know, because people kind of the general vibe is that community and activity are more sort of the fun ones. And then obviously president, and then support a little bit, and voice are like the more kind of admin officey sort of a one. So I was on a lot of committees, really fun sort of like regulation stuff. So lots of like things like the hybrid learning, safety net policies, lots of kind of meetings like that. And then same, but I probably, as VP Voice, probably didn't get quite as many emails as the activity got, but a few of those, and then any events doing running course rep stuff. So meeting, trying to get talk to as many course reps as, because this is not, that was a very similar problem that you've got with societies, and again they talked about this in the debate about how as societies chair or Team Surrey chair, how do you kind of deal with that many people and that many groups in an efficient way, and it's not so you can try and talk to everyone, but that's so much time, and that stops you doing other things. And how can you kind of like funnel that into the when you really need to be spoken to, and like try and use that time most effectively. And it's the same thing with course reps as well.
I think if one thing's consistent, I think it's just getting a Youngs for lunch.
Yeah, I think VP activities are a great role because you get to touch base with so many different people from different spaces, and I think it's also the fact that you also get to participate. Not to say other SABs can't, but it's like you get to participate in those sports. You go along to the sessions and really just make yourself...
Don't watch and pretend you're working.
Yeah, it's like, I'm doing work, AJ, but James is just like, hey, what's going on?
It was the day after I did the Active Freshers weekend, and I came into the office and everyone had like a nice resting weekend. They'd been in bed, they rested up from Freshers Week, and I'm there like dead in like full sportswear. Like, guys, I did like 15 sports just Sunday alone.
But it's good for engagement because that's how the students in those communities get to know, like, oh my gosh, this is a VP activity, because they come along to my sessions. I'm familiar with their faces, I know who they are, and I know who to go to for help. So definitely today has been a great debate from Activity Zone, Team Surrey Chair, Societies Chair, VP Activity.
And of course the most important one, Union Chair.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Pundits Corner today. Tomorrow will be the referendum, VP Voiced, and the massive one, Union President. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, James. Thank you, Thea.
Thank you.
Hope you have a great night and see you tomorrow.
Have a good one.